Der ist ja Laden. Hallo?
Der ist ja Laden.
Da sind wir wieder.
So, die Leute, die im Chat gespammt haben, PK auf 4 verschoben, ihr seid ganz schöne Witzbolde.
Ja.
Ihr habt aber auch den Peter Lustig zum Frühstück verspeist.
Also, wenn es wirklich auf 4 verschoben worden wäre, wäre ich nach Hause gefahren. Tut mir leid.
So, wir können Spotify aus.
Ja, eigentlich können wir das ganze Ding zumachen.
Ja.
So, dann können wir das hier maximieren. Ja, Moment.
Nee, erst Sound. Genau. Und jetzt bei Twitch den Sound auch anmachen. Alter, das ist laut.
So.
Oben aus, Countdown aus.
Balken aus.
Twitch Alerts auch aus.
Twitch Alerts aus. Was noch aus?
Countdown. Und Countdown. Nein, nicht EA-Logo.
So.
Nicht, nee, EA-Logo wieder anmachen. Genau. Jetzt maximieren.
Ich finde das so laut.
Na, jetzt, du kannst wieder lauter machen.
Ups. So reicht's.
Die Szene heißt bei mir EA-Logo, obwohl es das E3-Logo ist. Ich habe mich nur beim Szene-Schreiben verschrieben. Deswegen habe ich gerade EA-Logo gesagt.
Ah, jetzt kommt EA Sports. Pele ist gleich am Start.
Lauter.
Scheiße.
Ja.
So. So, jetzt. Das passt.
Da wird Mountain Dew geschaukelt.
Sah das scheiße aus? Man sieht das scheiße aus. Civilization.
Fallout 2.
Oh, das war hier mit der Grenze. Da bin
Genau.
ich zum absoluten Obernazi geworden. Ich habe mich immer total gefreut, wenn ich du kommst nicht rein. Hier ist X. Was noch Light. Oh, das ist Wing Commander gewesen.
Max Payne, Junge.
Mein Sweeper. Grim Fandango.
Orwell, Prince of Persia, Diablo 3,
Racing Games jetzt.
Formel 1,
Racing Game.
Spelunky, das war
Shovel Knight.
Das war
Das kennt ihr. Wie ist das Skispiel?
keine Ahnung.
Wie hieß dieses Skispiel? Bitte sagt es mir, wenn ihr es wisst.
Wir sind zu leise im Vergleich.
Oh. Wenn ihr wisst, wie dieses Skispiel hieß, was da eben gezeigt wurde, bitte sagt mir das nochmal. Das habe ich früher immer gespielt. Ich habe es nur irgendwann vergessen. Line Rider? Okay, ich guck mal nach, Line Rider. Wie sieht das mit dem Sound aus? Ton genau richtig.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're the PC Gaming Show!
Das müssen wir noch ausmachen.
Yeah!
Das Fenster schließen.
All right. Thank you so much for coming out today. Hello, everyone on the internet. Thank you for tuning in. As you can tell, I'm extremely excited to be here because PC is an amazing platform. It's an open platform. We've been seeing increasing advances in technology, better and better tools. We have this amazing, diverse range of creative experiences, all realized on the PC. We invited a huge number of guests today, and none of them said no, so we have a packed schedule. Like, look at how many cue cards I have. We're going to go through all of them, starting right now. So without any further ado, oh yeah, I like that. Woo! right back at you. Without any further ado, let us welcome our first guest. He works on a game called Killing Floor 2. It's John Gibson from Tripwire Interactive.
Wir haben lauter gemacht.
Good to see you, Sean.
Welcome, John. Join me on this unusually large sofa.
Yeah, I'll just lay down right
That's
here.
right. If you want to tell me about any of your problems,
So
we're going to have to wait till after the show.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about Killing Floor 2. Of course,
Absolutely.
Killing Floor 1, very unique concept, very unique gameplay style. And now you're working on the sequel. What does it mean to expand upon that original gameplay?
So for us, one of the most important things was Killing Floor 1 had this really fun core gameplay loop. So really what we wanted to make sure to do was not screw that up. I mean, that is so important. We in the past, we've done sequels, and we kind of departed from that core gameplay, and the fans, they weren't too happy about that. So this time, it's don't screw that up. So we're out on early access, and we wanted to get just that core gameplay super fun, super solid. And then as we go through early access, just keep bolting more new and fun things on top of that.
Hab's noch ein
So you've
bisschen
been in
lauter
early
gemacht.
access for 2 months. How has it been going?
It's been going really well. I mean, the game's selling great. We're getting a lot of really interesting feedback from our fans. It's also been a big learning experience for us too, though.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we discovered really early on was fans had this expectation that it's early access, so that means the full version is going to be done in 2 weeks, right? You know, it just came out, so it's going to be done.
I have it, so I'm going to have all of it immediately,
It'll
right?
be done right away. But in reality, there's a lot of development to be done to finish the game. So what we really
Der hat
learned
aber
is
echt eine ganze
so
Menge Zettel.
important to communicate with the players.
Ich sage, der hat sich auch
It's gonna be a
hingesetzt.
long
Das sieht da
time
gerade
to
aus
finish
wie
the game,
dieses
so
grüne
we had,
Toilettenpapier.
we started doing things
Ja,
like
dieses
doing
das
regular
billigste vom Billigen.
updates where we're telling them, this is what we're working on. Here's some pictures. They need to see the progress because
Absolutely.
with a game, it's got bugs, and you can't
Ernsthaft?
just push
Für
it out
jeden
there. It
Gast
has
hat er einen
features.
Zettel.
Yeah, features too, of course.
Well, of course, tonight I want to take a look at some of those new features that are being added to Killing Floor 2. Let's take a look at what's to come.
Ja, endlich. Bitte zeigt uns wieder Spiele. Bitte. Kennen wir uns weg. Alter. Wie geil ist das denn? Ja. Müssen wir uns mal angucken eigentlich, finde ich. Das sah ganz sexy aus. Vor allem diese ganzen Gedärme am Boden da.
I've
mich
seen
überzeugt.
this video a
Hat
few
mich auch
times now.
überzeugt.
I never don't laugh because the gore and the gut spraying everywhere is hilarious. And I understand this is like a pretty big technical innovation for you guys.
Yeah, so it's something we're really excited about. We've been working with a hardware partner on this technology for some time, but it wasn't quite ready for the initial release. And really what it does is, in the past, games have had, they've had rigid body physics, they've had cloth physics, they have soft body physics, but they all had to sort of operate separately. With this new technology, they're all able to interact. So things can float inside of other things and fluid, and it all works together. Of course, when you give technology like that to a bunch of twisted people like Tripwire, we're going to make blood and guts, we're going to make bloats explode and have intestines hanging from lampposts and bloat bile just covering everything and blood squirting out that'll just run down hills and the guts can float on top of the blood, and it's just,
I mean, I gotta.
It's video games. It's video games.
You've heard a man talk passionately about guts for 90 seconds straight. Now, of course, for me, I have a lot of jump scares when I play Killing Floor, so it's a nice sort of balance. I mean, what else do we get a chance to see in this video?
So one of the things that we're big into modding. I mean, we started out as a mod, mod team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we really support modding, and we wanted to show in this video some of the really cool community maps that are coming out for the game.
Bet.
People have already just jumped into our SDK and they're making really neat stuff, and we just really wanted to highlight that. The other thing that we wanted to talk about is we've got our Incineration Day content pack, free content pack that's coming out for the game as we expand it in early access. We're going to be adding 50% more content than what we even shipped the game with. So 2 new maps, 2 new perks, a bunch of new weapons. We're going to be shipping the Firebug perk and the Demolition perk. As you saw, there's a rocket launcher in there. That's for the Demolition guy. And Firebug gets that really neat shotgun that shoots flames. So we're super excited about that. And really, one of the things I didn't mention about early access we really want to get across is early on, we're working on our stats for our game and everything. We're telling people, like, we might have to reset your player progression. But one thing that we're happy to announce, okay, we're open for business. We've tested the game enough. We will not reset your stats. So it's safe. Come play our game. Do not be afraid.
When I lost my Hearthstone cards, it was one of the worst experiences of my life.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
God bless you. John, I gotta say, you have been a fantastic first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, John Gibson from Tripwire.
Nein, nicht als du nächstes.
And anything else you want to say to the audience before you depart?
I guess there's one more thing I should probably share before we go. Okay, we've been working on something in secret. And we're going to reveal something to the world right here on the stage right now that no one has ever seen.
Ich muss ganz ehrlich sagen, so sympathisch ich den Typen auch finde, ich hasse diese Art von Frisur, nicht Thomas.
Ich weiß, was du meinst.
Irokesen.
Mr. T ist ein Irokesen. Was war Mr. T nochmal? In der WoW-Werbung. In der WoW-Werbung. Irokesen irgendwas.
Krieger?
Weiß ich nicht.
Vietnam.
Hier sieht man die Grafik der besten
Battlefield Vietnam.
Konsole. Beziehungsweise der besten Spiele.
Ich hab mal wieder Bock auf.
Nach der Irokese. Genau so war das. Voll langweilig, die Kampf. Weißt du, nur 10 Sekunden. Boah, nee, voll langweilig. Jetzt hört man uns wieder nicht. Dieser der Lutscher, ey.
Kambodscha, okay. Rising Storm 2.
Hast du Rising Storm 1 gespielt?
Natürlich nicht.
Oder nicht?
You may have heard there would be reveals.
Oh.
We have delivered on that promise.
Oh, ich glaube, Bram und Jason gar nicht auf der PK.
Glaube ich auch nicht.
Now, our next guest, whom we invited, was unable to make it today, but he has a special recording for us.
Christmann hat Jay gesehen. Das glaube ich nicht.
Wieso ist das ja eigentlich die ganze Zeit?
Who's the Woo guy in the back? Who's on point? The first Woo.
Kannst du aufhören,
Nice
alles
work.
kaputt zu
$84
machen,
million
jetzt bevor wir
in
fertig
funding, and every
sind?
time
So, jetzt guck mal hier,
clip,
guck mal hier
I
nach
get
Jay.
rehyped all over again.
Da ist
Let's
kein
say hi
Jay.
to the digital form of the CEO of Cloud Imperium
Ich sehe
Wir haben
Games.
alle Haare.
Ich sehe eben, ich gucke auch nach einer Halbglatz. Star Citizen!
Welcome
Bling! Da ist Chris Roberts! Bling! Dem habe ich schon die Hand gegeben.
I am hosting with you guys in Los Angeles for the inaugural PC Gaming press conference. I wish I could be with you guys. I'm so happy that we're actually having a dedicated press conference for PC games, and they're getting the appreciation and attention that they should at E3
Jetzt sind wir
and
wieder zu laut, oder
other
was?
gaming conventions.
Chris Roberts ist einfach sehr leise.
Well, I'm having a lot of fun here in London, England, and we're doing amazing things with both Star Citizen and Squadron 42. We're really trying to push storytelling and the fidelity of performance capture, motion capture, how you relate to
Das hab ich auch schon
characters in a game, and that's only possible on PCs with the power of the platform, with what we can do in terms of facial animation and what we can do in terms of character animation, and what we can do in terms of building a visceral, detailed world. So I wouldn't be here doing it without everyone out there that are PC gamers. We're building literally a game that has a budget rivaling any of the big studio publisher games out there, and that's done entirely from a grassroots level at the PC gamer level, which is amazing because it's not financed by some big corporation, it's not financed by some big investor, it's financed by all you out there, and that just speaks to the power of PC gamers and what they want to see, the fidelity, the quality of what they want to see, and the passion of what they want to see. So I'd like to say thank you. Next year I will be at the
Ist das eine
PC
Raumschiff
Gaming
gerade in das
Conference.
andere Raumschiff?
I'm looking forward to seeing what
Reinfuhr.
other stuff gets unveiled at the conference, and I'm looking forward to showing you stuff from Squadron 42 and Star Citizen as we develop it. And thank you for listening.
Wow.
Ja, habe ich eh schon gekauft, also.
Like I said, I get
Da hab ich aber ein bisschen
rehyped
mehr
every
erwartet.
single time. And as we have so many developers here with us today, we too have technologists to talk about what it's like to develop the things on which games are built. So please join me in welcoming the chief gaming scientist of
sitzen voll wenig
AMD,
Frauen.
Richard Huddy.
Richard Huddy.
Richard,
dabei.
you
Bombe.
bear gifts. I
Chief
bring
Gaming
gifts. Absolutely.
Scientist
We got a
AMD.
briefcase,
Oh,
we
der
got
hat eine
graphics
Grafikkarte
cards. Thank you
dabei.
so much for coming out.
Everything one could possibly want in the world. I thought
Please
I'd bring
join
along-
me
Was ist
once
dieser ganze
again and
Hardware-Scheiß?
explain
Ich habe
right
mich da früher ja
away
echt
what
krass
on
für
earth a
interessiert.
chief gaming
Aber mittlerweile
scientist
interessieren mich
is.
Spiele
Chief Gaming
tausendmal mehr
Scientist,
als
apart from being a
irgendwelche
complete mystery to me.
Hardware-Bullshit.
Ich habe mich für Hardware immer nur dann interessiert, wenn ich mir einen neuen Rechner kaufen muss. Dann lese ich mich da wochenlang ein und dann kaufe ich mir einen Rechner und dann weiß ich wieder nichts
Ask them
mehr.
what it is
Genau,
that they're trying to
richtig.
develop, ask them why they're trying to do it, where they want to be in 2, 3, 5 years' time, maybe even further out than that. And I talk to them
What
about the
are
kind of
you
stuff that we're
looking
building,
So,
why we're
wo ich
building
rumspielen
GPUs,
kann.
the way we're doing it. It's all
Yeah.
Guck mal
private
lieber nach
NDA
links.
discussion, and I get shot if I talk about it in too much detail.
Except here. You're
Except
allowed to
here.
talk about it here. I
Just
encourage you to do it
between
here.
you and I.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
And
we'll
some
keep
of our
it,
friends.
keep it secret.
Alle schreiben Agent
Audience out there.
47, nur
You're
weil er
trying
eine
to trick
Glatze
me, I
hat.
know.
oder
That's
was?
why we have the bright lights. It's to confuse you and blind
Und
you.
Segeln.
And confused I
Das ist
am.
wie jedes Mal, wenn
as is usually the
asiatisch
case.
aussehender
But the
Mensch auf der
second role
Bühne
is
war, haben
actually
alle Jackie Chan
a much more
geschrieben.
public communications role.
Manchmal
where I
seid
talk
ihr
about
aber
some
auch
of the cool
wirklich,
stuff that we do,
ne?
why we do it, and how to understand it in the context of an evolving industry.
Well, one of the first things I want to ask is, for a long time it was all about increasing the number of polygons out there, but after a
Natürlich
while
gehört
there's
das
only
zum
so much
PC,
more that
aber
that can do. And given that there's so many different challenges that PC
Das
gamers
ist,
want to
bei
tackle
jeder
nowadays,
PK
they
ist
want
dieses
to have,
ganze
how do you-
Gelaber total
How does
unnötig.
AMD approach it?
Spiele wichtiger
It gets you a long
Hardware.
way when you start with Lara Croft having 300 or
Aber die
400
bezahlen den
polygons and you
Shit
get
halt zum
excited
großen
about
Teil,
that. Have to
deswegen.
say when you get to
Wenn
a
Sony
million
wieder
or 5
anfängt,
million,
über
that's a
ihren
pretty cool place to be.
TV-Scheiß für
But
die
there is a lot more to
Playstation
it
zu
than that,
reden,
it's
habe ich
true.
auch gekotzt.
So
Bei mir ist auch
just
AMD
this morning
und
we
gegen Nvidia ist mir
introduced
sowas von
a new range
scheißegal.
of graphics
Ja,
cards.
das
We were
wird gerade
pretty,
besser,
pretty
es wird
pleased to be able
gekauft.
to do
Also,
that.
ich muss jetzt
The
nicht
Radeon
so,
R7
nee, AMD
300
kaufe ich
and
nicht.
the, Radeon R9
Das ist
300 graphics
völliger
cards.
Bullshit.
Das
These
ist genau,
have,
das
some
ist halt
pretty
wie
cool.
dieser
There we are.
Konsolenkrieg.
Look, we got a graphics card or two on the
Es
screen.
geht einzig und
These have
allein
some
darum,
pretty cool
Preis-Leistungs-Verhältnis. Es
features,
muss
both,
bezahlbar sein und es muss den
e-sports
Scheiß
where you
darstellen können, den
can
ich zocken will.
really
Genau
up the
deswegen haben wir
quality
uns
of
eine
the gaming
600 € Karte
experience on a pretty reasonable budget. You know, the kind of 110, 140
Ey, es gibt da
bucks,
1000 €
card.
Karten.
Das stimmt.
Right up to high-end gaming where we're serious about a full-on gaming experience. And where we deliver, for example, a
Heißt der
great
Moderator
smooth
tatsächlich
experience
Day
in
9?
FreeSync, where there's no tearing, no stuttering in the monitor. Everything's smooth the way it should be.
Yeah, and as someone who works in, web TV, I mean, tearing's such a pain in the ass to deal with. And I mean, also, VR is another huge problem that
It's
It's
a
not-
really big deal for us, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you tackle that, especially given the fact that it's not quite clear where VR fits into the ecosystem yet?
Yeah, VR's a very interesting challenge. It breaks down into two separate areas of problem, I think, that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
One is you need an awful lot of horsepower for a great VR experience. You can deliver a VR experience without so much, but that isn't our aspiration. Yeah, we're not into stuff. If you want a great VR experience, you want something which is, Oculus, for example, are looking for a 90th of a second as the maximum length of time between moving and getting the response back. Well, that needs a pretty powerful graphics card to do anything
Right.
realistic in that time. And it also needs, the other side of it, is a really tuned software stack, a hardware pipeline that can take input super fast and deliver output really extraordinarily quickly. A 90th of a
Yeah.
second is a very short period of time.
And you also-
Console gamers would never worry about a 90th of a second.
I freak out if I'm not 144 hertz, man.
Absolutely.
Real pro
Hab
gamer
ich noch
here,
nie
man.
gehabt.
So, in terms of what's coupled with the hardware, the software, DirectX 12, you've mentioned before the show that it serves a critical role. in this entire pipeline.
We are big fans of DX12. Yeah, it's a wonderful transition for
Wir
the
empfehlen
industry.
übrigens jedem,
And looking forward to Windows 10
der
coming
ausrastet,
along,
wenn wir
late July
darüber
this year, I believe it is.
quatschen, einfach den Originalstream zu
DX12 is
gucken.
gonna
Den findet ihr auf
do
Twitch auch.
what we at AMD have
Denn wir sind
always
gerade
wanted
hier
to do with the
für die
hardware, and
Leute,
that is
die
to deliver
gerne
the maximum value that
wissen
we
wollen,
can
was wir dazu
out of a
sagen,
piece of hardware.
was
It's
da
not
gerade
about
passiert.
always shipping a new piece of hardware because we can
Right.
trick you into paying for it. Actually, what we'd really like you to do is to get the maximum value out of
Hast
it,
eine neue
because you'll
Person
come back as
gekriegt
a
bei
customer
Fallout
who knows that
Shelter.
we've tried hard for you if we do that.
Mit
DX12 really
richtig
rocks when it comes
scheiß
to doing that.
Stats.
DX12 opens up every CPU core and opens up the possibilities with GPUs to really deliver a fantastic fast throughput experience, a rich
Yeah,
experience.
I mean, is this part of the reason why so often I'll just see 2 cores being used on some of my processes?
So the legacy APIs, everything
Yeah.
before this has suffered from the problem. It's been really hard for us to design APIs so that the throughput of the system was not bottlenecked on 1 or 2 cores. Typically, you'd have one core shouting at the other, "Hey, have you got rid of that stuff now? Are you ready?" And the other one would be the driver saying, "I'll be ready in a moment." Yeah, and these two are just shouting at each other.
And
Well, all the other cars,
3, 4, 5, 6 just hanging out,
they're
having drinks.
spectators. Could I have something to do?
Also ich
Could
glaube
I-
auch, dass
could I
die
maybe
Show
render
dann 2
something in the
Stunden
game?
lang
Could I do
geht.
some AI?
Und zwischendurch so ein
actually, this heated
AMD-Typ
conversation
kommt und
between
bla
CPU,
bla bla bla
two
bla
CPU
bla
cores
bla
has historically been
bla.
a pretty big problem. DX12 completely solves it. Really beautiful.
Well, tell me a little bit about the goodies you've brought. I mean, I see the graphics card here. I know that there's a big metal, austere-looking case here.
I'm going to give you the suitcase. In it, well, you're not going to take a look just at the moment, if you would.
But I
Sean.
get to keep everything inside of
You
it
get
no
to
matter
keep
what.
everything inside of it, no matter what. If you can negotiate that
Das
with,
war bis
with one of your later
10.010,
guests,
kommt
Lisa
vielleicht
Sue,
ein
our
Spiel.
CEO, who'll be
No
chatting
problem. I'll
you
do the
through the
negotiation
contents
on
of that.
air. It'll be great.
Good luck with that. Good luck. I've
Yeah,
tried
good
that
luck
kind of
with
thing
that.
myself, and it's a little tougher than it might sound.
Ich meine, natürlich gehört zu AMD auch
Inside the
Grafik.
box, you will find a symbol of our commitment to the ultimate in PC gaming. I'll say no more than that.
You tease.
I tease. I do. I do tease a lot. But here with me on the sofa, out of the metal box, you see a couple of things. We've got a Nitro card here from Sapphire. This is one of the new cards that we launched today. So we have, as I said, the VR7 series. Both of these cards happen to be online, so this is all VR oriented. This is a 4 gig card. You're talking $300-ish of
Leute, ihr
hardware.
seid geil.
This one's
Das ist echt
a little
gerade
bit
geil,
more
damit
full
habe
on.
ich nicht gerechnet.
This one from Asus. This is an 8 gig card, so very much oriented at a superior 4.
Weißt du, der kann jetzt auch mit
4K
irgendwelchen
experience.
Statistiken um sich schlagen. Ey, unsere Karte hat so viel RAM, ey, unsere Karte hat so
Of course.
viel...
Ja, aber das muss man
6-core,
erst mal
4K
testen.
monitor,
Was
144
weiß ich, was
hertz.
es
You
doch
have
für
a
Daten gibt.
6-core
Unsere
monitor.
Karte hat so
Sean, you
viel
rock.
Chiptakt und was weiß ich nicht alles.
Herz,
I think the show's going well.
Dann
Twitch
sitze
is
ich hier auch
probably
nur und
giving me a
denke, okay,
6.5 out of
cool.
10 right now.
Who
So,
knows what they're giving you?
Kann ich Witcher 3 auf Ultra zocken?
well,
Yeah.
either way, thank you so much for coming out, talking a little bit about the technology.
Mit
Dig.
Herr
Ladies
Wells
and Richard
von
Huddy.
VJ.
Always fun to chat with you.
And I want a cake.
John,
Wobei
Look
tatsächlich
after
können
that
AMD
for me,
Karten auch
yeah?
mal
Thank you
wieder
so
Herr
much.
Wells.
and I'll take these away, but it's not a sign that I don't trust you, okay?
I look forward to receiving them after the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, we've already talked a little bit about the technology. It's time to see some of the games that are run on that technology. And to do so, we're going
Wir
to
sind
step
bei
on one of
10.000
those
angekommen.
iconic PC series of all
Nee,
time.
jetzt holt er erstmal einen Typen auf.
Ja, ja,
Deus
stimmt, der
Ex,
redet
Mankind Divided. It's coming soon. Woo! Please join me in welcoming Jean-François Dugas and Jonathan Jacques Bellatet.
Geil!
Yes.
Ich glaube, John und
Die sind beide von Eidos Montreal. Jetzt könnte Deus Ex kommen.
Welcome.
Hat er ja gerade schon gesagt, dass Deus Ex kommt.
Achso, da habe ich nicht
Now,
zugehört.
despite the fact that I've shamed myself by
Lol,
referring
der
to
hat
as a
ein Behemoth
6-core
T-Shirt
monitor,
an.
I
Nice.
assure you I am a true
Wobei, nee,
PC
eigentlich nicht so
gamer,
nice.
and
Ich
I
finde
want
nur die
to know
Intros immer geil.
what it
Das
is
ist
like
Behemoth.
working
Das ist,
on the Deus Ex franchise with
was,
just
Death Metal
so many
oder nee,
years
Black
of
Metal
legacy.
Band.
It's quite a lot of
Ich finde die mal so lange
pressure,
geil,
it's
solange
quite
die
a lot
Intros sind und so weiter und die Riffs,
intense
aber
work.
solange wenn die Fresse
Mostly.
aufmachst nicht.
And it's very different this time around than Human Revolution, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the big difference, like the first time when we started to work on
Ich glaube, das
this,
ist eine
title,
Talkshow, was wir uns jetzt
a
hier
lot of
gerade
you
angucken.
guys
Keine Gaming-Show.
were looking at us, and please, like, let's make sure that you guys do a good job. So
We're like the underdogs. at that
exactly.
point, yeah.
So the pressure was really all about like making sure that we were living up to the to you guys. And today, now that we did the Human Revolution, and it seemed it was an appreciated game. We have now people are having a lot of high expectations, and the pressure switched from a different kind of Please,
you can never release a good game and then have a follow-up. That's dangerous. People are going to be excited. So, I mean, how has the world changed since Human Revolution?
Well, we're 2 years after Human Revolution, and the last game was all a golden age for augmented people with cybernetic abilities and whatnot. And now, 2 years later, after the events of the last game, a lot of things change, and now augmented people have been seen as a dangerous species in a way, like that they can threaten the order.
Ach, der Chat ist gerade mal wieder so rassistisch. Ich kann das nicht vorlesen, aber mal lachen darf ich.
Exactly.
All the millions of people who died and all that.
Yeah, and now we live in a world where people, augmented people, are put in ghettos, etc., etc. And Adam Jensen is back now. He's not working for Cyrus Industries anymore. He's working for international counter-terrorist agency, and his goal is to stop the chaos over there. But also he has a double agenda. He's trying to get at the people in the shadows, and he hopes that with this agency can get through them.
And we got a chance also to talk about what new possibilities were available with the new technology. And we know that bigger and more is not always better. So let's take a
Alle,
look
die
at
jetzt
the Dawn
schlafen
engine
gehen,
so we can talk about
gute Nacht.
how you are using that technology
Ich
to
glaube,
realize
das
your
wird
vision.
sich ein bisschen ziehen.
And you know, having just seen this video just moments before the show began, I'm noticing so many more objects on the screen.
So many cucumbers.
There's
But see, but that's but that's the thing. No, that's exactly what the game is all about in a way. Clutter. That was I think Human
Das ist jetzt
Revolution
Nvidia-Grafikkarte?
for its time,
Was wir
probably the
vorher
most
gesehen
cluttered
haben, war
game,
AMD
ever at
Grafikkarte.
that point, and the game is about details. It's about like there's so much visual layering, and now with the Dawn engine and DirectX 12, we can push it, you know, so much higher than what we did before, and tons of other bells and whistles as well, tress effects for the hair and Adam's beard and all that. So yeah.
And I mean, in terms of the actual environment with all these interactable objects going on, I mean, I assume it can just be extremely chaotic and hard to control the visual elements. How do you let the art style match up with that?
It all comes down to rules, and it all comes down to having the different departments kind of understanding, you know, what those rules are and what we can put where, what's going to be interactive, what's going to be not interactive in a specific you know, location.
And arguing with the artists because they put objects where there's the cover system and stuff like that.
We're pretty good. We're pretty good. Like we trained on Human Revolution. That's where the fights happen, and now it's a little more, you know. Yeah,
it's smoother.
Yeah. We've talked about the development side, but as Deus Ex players, how do you tend to play through the game? Because there's always so many different options available. I feel like the joy is in defining your own way to play.
Sorry, what's the question?
How do you play Deus Ex? Do you go on there guns blazing, or are you sneaky?
Very easy question. I don't know why. Bei 180 haben wir tatsächlich mal Spielszenen bekommen.
I like to play stealth.
Jawohl, der Trailer hat nämlich nur Balla gezeigt.
And look for everything stealthily, and once I'm done, I just kind of, you know, backtrack and kill everybody. I don't know. That's just how I do it. It's like I want to have. I can't compromise. You know, I want to have the best of both worlds. It's always like that. So it's like you know, I go forward, I feel like I'm James Bond, and I go backward, I feel like I'm Rambo. You know.
And you get 2 rounds of playtesting. That's great.
That's it. Yeah. And on my side, I play mostly stealthy, and I try to not kill people. And at some point along my playthrough, I start to kill people, but still stealthy. So I always stay gentle.
You're an impulsive, stealthy person. Exactly. I hate him specifically.
Einer decken wie die andere sprinten.
So, and how do you balance all the different ways that people are going to play through the game?
It's always, like John was saying, like we work in a collaborative way with the team, and it's always about understanding what we're trying to achieve. We know that from the get-go we have 4 gameplay pillars: stealth, combat, hacking, and social. So as we build the adventure, as we build the missions, all the challenges, we have to keep in mind that we don't know what the player is going to do. So we do a lot of map reviews, and when we play it, also like we're looking at what the possibilities are, and sometimes we're okay. It's cool, like if you're the stealthy player, but what about the combat player, and now what's missing and everything. So it's a back and forth like that allows us to really improve the maps and the challenges to make sure that everybody is going to have something.
And yet we always see
Yeah.
players do things that we never
Yeah.
thought was possible, that we never even imagined.
They're pretty obnoxious.
Was
in that
wurde
way,
schon
aren't they?
gezeigt, habe ich was verpasst.
Well, either way, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out
Pleasure.
to talk about Deus
Viel
Ex. The footage
Quatsche.
is beautiful,
Killing Floor
and I
2.
can't wait to get my hands on it.
Und Deus
Alright,
Ex.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Das,
I don't
meine,
smoke
also ich
that.
freue mich wirklich krass auf Deus
Thank you.
Ex. Ich glaube, das wird mega, mega cool.
That was close. Hey, that's it. Thanks so
Und das
much. Yes.
Vietnam-Spiel.
Now, of course, we'll talk
Rising
about
Storm
Deus
2.
Ex, known for being a long-standing PC
This Rising
franchise.
Storm? Ja,
We
ne?
too have yet another long-standing franchise coming up next with its upcoming installment. Hold on, not easy. All right. I like the woo guy over here. The Half-Life 3 guy needs to just hold it. Coming up next, we have a video to talk a little bit about the history of Total War.
Was? Schon wieder Lord? Ubisoft das schon gemacht. Wie er den Half-Life 3-Typen in seine Grenzen verwiesen hat. Ich fand bei den Total War Spielen immer beeindruckend, genau, diese Massenschlachten, wie die dargestellt haben. Das war immer sehr beeindruckend. Aber das war nicht beeindruckend genug, dass ich mich durch ein Strategiespiel gequält habe.
Help me to decide. Help me make the most
Oho, greifen. Also tatsächlich habe ich bei diesem Song immer noch den Assassin's Creed Unity Trailer im Kopf, der damals den extrem geil fand. Aber was du sagst, was halt das Beeindruckende daran ist, diese Massenschlachten, finde ich auch. Ich habe es auch ein paar Mal probiert, aber ich bin dieser einfach zu doof dazu.
Well, we've got two fantastic brands there, and they're both
deserve
equal billing, really. But you know, if you guys want to call it Total War, Hammer, then the Chaos Gods aren't going to strike you down.
We have permission, yes. One victory has been achieved thus far. You know, I immediately want to ask about, in the videos, and for anyone who's played the Total War franchise, it's so much rooted in history. And now you have this fantasy setting with magic and different races. How does that allow you to play, to create new experiences?
Well, it's brilliant. I mean, for years we've wanted to do a fantasy game, and the opportunity to do this with Games Workshop was just something we had to take. It's just such a rich world of giant creatures, flying creatures, as say, magic, heroes that are larger than life, 100 men on a battlefield, and it just enables us to play with that different sort of, set of features in a total context, and do things we've never done before. And
okay, das ist ziemlich awesome, Leute.
Das ist ziemlich awesome. You brought up the idea of heroes, which is a part to Warhammer.
Trailer vorbei.
Yeah,
well, I was going to say, you've got your lords and your heroes, pretty much like in the tabletop game. And your lords, they're going to be your army generals, and you're going to have famous people, well, not all people, famous generals like Karl Franz and Gringor High and then you have your heroes, which are probably going to be a bit like the agents in Total War. So things like witch priests, witch hunters even, and warrior priests and shamans
Ist
and
darüber
wizards,
eigentlich
of
was
course.
bekannt?
And there's a new feature as
Total
well, where
War
when
Warhammer?
you
Ja,
use
nicht
these
viel.
heroes
Also
from a
nicht so-
campaign game,
Es
if
kam
you
ja
embed
bisher
them
in
in an
keiner
army
PK
and then
vor.
fight a battle, they'll be there
Und
in
ich
the
weiß
battle
nichts drüber.
fighting, you know, alongside your other troops. And massively deep skills trees, so deeper than we've ever been, so you can really get into the character and the narrative of these heroes. And that's something that, you know, we've never pushed this far in a Total War series before.
It's pretty incredible to
Wisst ihr,
see
gab es bei
some of the
Total War
figurines
generell
that I
nichts
recognize. I mean,
Übernatürliches,
these are now
oder? Das ist ja jetzt
in
das
the
erste
game
Total
and
War
animated, right?
in einer fiktiven
Yeah,
Welt.
I mean, for me as
war ja
a
ansonsten
lifelong
immer
Warhammer fan, Carl
Römer
Franz, for instance,
oder
it's a miniature I own, it's a miniature I've
Japaner
painted.
oder-
To see him
Kennst du
then
diese großen
animated and
goldenen
talking,
Uhren, die Rapper um
rousing his
ihren
men,
Hals tragen? Ich glaube, das ist die
it's a
Vorstufe
Warhammer
davon.
fan's dream. No, I think this
Ja,
is
so
the
ein Rad.
Warhammer game
Ja, das
everyone's
ist die
been waiting
Vorstufe.
for.
I'm very
Uhren
excited to
gab's
see the
da.
way
Oh, der
we
hat auch einen
married the
Hintern
epic
auch.
scale of Total
hat
War
auf jeden Fall
with
schon
the
ein paar
miniature
Bier
feel
zu viel
of
getrunken.
Warhammer. Guys, thanks so much for coming out to talk.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Also für Leute, die Total War Warhammer ist dann natürlich gerade die Offenbarung.
Yes.
Stimmt.
Now, we've just gotten the chance to talk to the people working on Deus Ex and Total War. And these are, of course, some names that I'm sure no one is surprised to see here today. But our upcoming guest is one that I was very surprised to see on the docket and very excited to hear what he has in store. The head of Xbox from Microsoft, Phil Spencer.
Oh Gott.
Aber interessant, dass er da auftaucht.
Aber Phil hört sich immer so an, als hätte
Phil?
er relativ viel Spucke im Mund.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the PC Gaming
Richtig
Show.
geil.
right.
Ja, ganz richtig. Wir wissen, was er zu sagen hat.
Phil, welcome to the PC
Wonderland.
Gaming Show, where we talk about PCs. So, Phil, I would be thrilled for you to tell me a little bit about what Microsoft is here for.
Yeah, you know, well, first, I just want to say I think it's great
voll der
that there's a PC gaming conference press event here at E3. I think that's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Du musst nicht wieder von vorne anfangen.
When we had the opportunity to when we had the opportunity to get involved with this and help put it on, it was a great opportunity, and I definitely wanted to jump at it. And I wanted to have the opportunity to come on stage because it's there have been times in our past where Microsoft maybe has lost our way with PC gaming. And as the person now who runs gaming for Microsoft, Windows and what people have done on PC is critical to both our success and critical to Windows' success. So getting the opportunity to come here and talk directly with fans and the press and be in the event was something I look forward to. So it's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you. I mean, tell us a little bit about your plans for the PC.
Yeah, you know, we have Windows 10 obviously coming out in July. One of the early moves was to make the free upgrade for people. Really, we thought about that from a developer standpoint, that as developers look at a common ecosystem with everybody on, as much as we can, one version of Windows, it just makes it easier as people are developing games. So allowing for free upgrades in the first year so that people, their test matrix, our test matrix just gets easier, that was a good win. Building DirectX 12 and make it common across our platform so that if you're working on DirectX 12, Xbox Live, so if you're interested in writing to Xbox Live, the same API set, the same service, just trying to make it easier for developers as they're developing Windows games.
So is the goal to have a wide variety of cross-platform titles, both on the Xbox One and on the PC?
You know, for me, games, I think there are a lot of opportunities for cross-platform, but I also think there are games that exist on a television, and there's games that exist PC and mouse, keyboard and mouse on a PC, and it's not our job to dictate where games are developed or the kind of games that developers want to build. But giving developers the options, the opportunity, creating the widest canvas we can for creativity is what I've seen in my time in the gaming space that leads to the best games, and that's why I think we're all here.
Well, you now have
Das ist
a
alles
chance
schon
to announce
bekannt.
some of the upcoming games that we PC gamers can get excited about.
Upcoming?
Yeah, you know, there's been a lot of push for us to do more in the first party, and we will. We're dedicated to that, but I don't like to make promises or announce things before we have a plan. So we're going to have some people come out. But one of the franchises that a lot of people have asked me about is Killer Instinct. And we're going to bring Killer Instinct to the PC. And we're going to allow people to play on PC, to play on console, to play back and forth. I think it's a great franchise for us. You've seen fighting games do very well, and it's the beginning for us. Again, I could make some grandiose promises. I'm just not that kind of person. As our portfolio builds out on Windows, you'll hear more and more from us about what we have, what we're building.
Ich muss sagen, das
And I also am
allerbeste
so
überhaupt, was
excited to
passieren
bring some
könnte,
guests
also wenn
up to the
ich
stage,
Gabe
talk
Newell
about the
wäre,
titles
ja?
that they are working on. So
Ich
without
würde als
further ado,
letzter
oh,
zu
God, I'm so
dieser
excited about this in
Conference
particular.
gehen, auf die Bühne.
Please join me in
Alle
welcoming
fangen an
David
auszuflippen.
Eckelberry and James
Würde ich
Finney from
irgendwie,
Fable
weiß nicht,
Legends
für
and Gigantic.
Team Fortress irgendwelche Actions ankündigen oder so und wieder gehen.
Come join me.
Guck mal, das
Hello,
ist
welcome. Welcome. You are not allowed to begin speaking without a formal handshake.
Oh.
Yes. All right, now that that's out of the way, David,
Der linke
you just
sieht
saw the
aus wie
footage.
von
We're just
Cradle
going
of
to go
Filth.
straight
Danny
into it right
Filth.
now.
Ist auch da.
This is footage from Fable Legends. It's beautiful. I want to know about it. Tell me about what we're seeing.
So this is a premiere video that we brought for you today. What we're looking at is the diverse set of environments that we're going to just show off, right? The great thing about Fable Legends, it's a game that you can play on your Xbox One. It's a game you can play on a Windows 10 PC. And what we're really getting to build right now as we prepare to release the game later this year is an incredibly cool story-based world that you can spend time in with lots of different heroes, cool characters, more than 24 different creatures to fight against. And all of those options will be there regardless of platform you or your friends are playing on. Because that way, you can play cross-platform, just like you said.
And I immediately want to ask about the way that you are able to use the DirectX 12 technology. We talked about how more isn't necessarily better. How do you use that computing power to realize this vision?
Basically, what it gives us the power to do is to put more beautiful pixels in a smaller space, right? Fundamentally, Fable Legends is about drawing this beautiful world that we've never got to see before. We're going back to Albion, a really beloved place, but we can do it with, a level of graphics on both platforms that our fans have always wanted us to deliver, cutting-edge technology right at the forefront.
Now, I want to shift a little bit over to some of the gameplay choices you've made. I understand that Fable Legends is a free-to-play game. And, there's always some of that dangerous stigma that people have associated with that. Walk me through the choice around the business model.
I think, we thought about it's a new kind of game that we were building in Fable Legends. And we really wanted the opportunity for everyone to play it and make their own decision on it. It's a different kind of game. It's not exactly like Fable 1, 2, and 3. It has the opportunity for multiplayer, has this new villain that can play and play oppositionally. And I think that meant for us that the only way for our fans to find out if they were going to love Fable Legends was simply to play it. When we talked about it a lot, that just meant that we wanted to put it in their hands and let them take a shot.
And how does this allow you to do an extended long-term development for Fable Legends?
We're going to plan for years of content. We're continue to make new characters, new quests, and things like that. And there had to be some way that we could deliver that to the user. It couldn't just be a $60 box or, subscriptions are a kind of unused model these days. So when we talked about it, it just seemed to be the best way to do that is to continue to deliver great quest content and keep putting out new creatures and heroes for the two sides to play.
And I cannot disagree with the beauty that we saw there. But of course, I'm super excited it's going to be on the PC, so I get to play it oh so easily.
Yeah, and it's great. It's really easy to play on the PC.
Yeah.
You can plug in a controller, you can use mouse and keyboard, you can do it wherever you want.
Awesome. And of course, James, I've been following Gigantic for quite a while. Let's take a look at some of the footage you brought here today. And for some people who are unfamiliar with Gigantic, it has a pretty unusual core gameplay to it.
Yeah, so as the name implies, it centers around these gigantic creatures. It's 5-on-5 PvP. Play it on Windows 10, play it on Xbox One, and each team consists of 5 unique heroes, but they also have this Guardian that's AI controlled and is the objective in the game. So you've got your Guardian, the enemy team has theirs, and whichever Guardian dies, their team loses.
And I know that one of the core elements to the gameplay is that it's a mix of a shooter and a MOBA. How do you merge those two together for the hero creation?
It's actually been pretty fluid and really fun for us from a development standpoint. So, to look at these different heroes, what we tried to do is just, we started with the basis of shooter controls, and we wanted to draw on MOBAs and strategy games and look at ways to make it a really compelling strategic back and forth. But each one of these heroes gives us a chance to create a character that works for people who have different skill set as players or like a different play style. So some of these guys really require some twitch aiming, some of them don't. Some of them are more kind of action brawler, some of them use more sophisticated skill interactions. They're more for kind of RPG players.
Well, I know that a lot of MOBAs, the heroes are very statistical based. You know, if you're a DPS, if you're a tank, it's defined by those numbers. But in a shooter, so much of what seems like would define a character's strength would be the player's ability to aim. How do you balance those two?
You know, we assume that you're good at the character depending on what the character calls for. And some of them...
That's a bold move.
Some of them don't call for as much aiming skill. Some of them are much more about tactical thinking, positional thinking. So there's a character, Griselma, that summons these portal creatures. And so she's not really doing the combat herself, but she's got to think strategically about how she places things. Some of the characters, a melee character, it's more about
Kaspersky hat's bei mir
when
schon
you're going to
geblockt,
get in
hat einer
there
geschrieben.
and mix it up versus when you need to hang back.
And I mean, I know that there's a lot of very unusual hero design in the game. What are some of the ones that you're particularly excited about?
Sieht man auch in der URL.
All of them are a lot of fun. You know, I think we
Die offizielle Seite hat keinen Punkt zwischen Valve und Software.
Genau. Also eigentlich ist valvesoftware.com und die Seite heißt valve.software. Das ist eine Phishing-Seite. Geht da nicht drauf.
Sort of put their creative vision into things. So,
genau, geht da nicht drauf. Ich hätte besser gar nichts sagen sollen.
Different influences from different team members. But
cool.
Vadasi is one of the characters that I've always really liked playing. She's got forearms. She's a character that can run around and heal, sort of uses a beam skill to heal. But she can also hurt enemies. And with all the characters, during the course of the battle, you get to pick upgrades as you go. And those upgrades are branching upgrades on each skill that can make the character play in very different ways. So you can build Vadasi to be sort of the ultimate healer, or you can actually build her to do some real damage too.
Well, like I said, I've been following development of your games for quite some time. Very excited to see the full product soon. I understand, according to the screen, that the beta is in August?
Yeah, we're moving along. That's going to be closed beta, though
Das wissen wir schon.
we're going to try to let a pretty good number of people in, and then look for open beta later this year.
Was hab ich
Well,
gemacht?
gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out once again.
Du hast nichts gemacht.
Hey, Finny. Hey.
Was hab ich gemacht?
You did a very big Finny. Good job. Now, Phil, we do have one more guest.
We do.
Quite a surprise. Very excited to bring out the studio head of the Coalition, Rod Ferguson.
What? The Coalition?
No.
Der Name Rod Ferguson.
Yes, welcome. No, Phil, I guess, just gets to oversee everything from the far chair. Hey, Phil. Hi. Yeah, if you want
Rod
to
needs
sit.
his space. He needs his space.
So, Rod, I'm going to leave this relatively open-ended. Tell us what brings you to the PC Gaming Show.
I may be announcing that Gears of War Ultimate Edition is coming to PC.
What? Nice. Da will ich mir doch mal angucken.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the Gears of War Ultimate Edition video. Talk a little bit about what we're going to see.
Well, I mean, Gears of War is basically the first at its best. It's been rebuilt, remastered from the ground up. And on the console, it's 1080p. But on PC, 4K resolution support, unlimited refresh rate, DX12. We're going to support mouse and keyboard. We're going to support the wireless controller and the new Elite wireless controller. So there's going to be a lot of great, sort of visual meat there for the PC player.
And what about some of the gameplay content? I mean, I know that Gears of War came out, gosh, was it 2006?
Yeah, I mean, Gears 1 was 2006, and Gears 1 PC was 2007. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of changes, modernizations. It's one of those things when you have a game like this, you have to walk the line of nostalgia. It's like, but nostalgia is great, but when you actually go back and look at what you made 10 years later, it doesn't necessarily hold up, and so you have to make it kind of more contemporary.
What were some of those challenges? Like, for instance, if I've played the Gear of War franchise, what's new in it for me from the PC perspective?
Well, from the PC perspective, all those things I just rammed off are going to be new for you. But I mean, essentially, one of the things we're doing is we're taking all that PC content and we're bringing that over to the console so they get to enjoy it. But being able to sort of just expand on what you have
unlimited frame rate,
in terms of, all the different options you can get into. But from just an overall game perspective, the difference between the original to the remastered is just we rebuilt everything from the ground up. We started with the core simulation, but there's over 3,000 art assets fully replaced. We have 19 multiplayer maps. We've got a bunch of new modes. We looked at how do you play Gears of War multiplayer. We found that TDM was the best way to play socially, and King of the Hill was the best way to play competitively.
What?
And so we took those two modes from Gears 3 and brought them back.
Bin gespannt, wie der Port
so that people can play the way they want to play now. So it's things like that. There's lots of little things that walk this line between nostalgia and contemporary shooter in 2015.
What about some of the other features you can take advantage of now that it's going to be on Windows 10?
Oh, well, you know, the standard stuff that
Gears of War 4 kommt jetzt erst demnächst für die Xbox One.
like all the things you would
Das wird nicht in der
expect
Ultimate Edition sein.
Ultimate Edition will.
Well, awesome. Now, of course, are there other things in the future that the PC fans can look forward to from the Gears of War franchise?
Nothing to announce yet. You know, so that'll be something we'll be happy to talk about at a later time.
Okay. Well, great, guys. Thank you so much for coming out, ladies and gentlemen. Xbox Initiative
Endlich eine gute
for
Ankündigung.
PC. Good job, gentlemen.
Stimmt.
Thank you.
Hat 49 Minuten gedauert.
Now, of course, this is a moment that I was
Jetzt kann
asked to
natürlich,
do.
jetzt geht wieder so.
I resisted,
Nachdem die Kurve
but
hochgegangen ist, geht jetzt wieder
if
runter.
you're looking for the one moment when Day 9 sold out, it's right now. Stay with me.
Was hat er denn jetzt vor? Junge, arbeitet deine Karten ab.
For any
Heads
of
up.
you who are familiar with a company called SCS Software, they make a game called Euro Truck Simulator.
Ich geh mal pinkeln.
They are expanding west with all brand new content, and I am thrilled to be able to present to you.
Wie können die
American
Wichser wagen,
Truck
über Euro
Simulator.
Truck Simulator 2 zu lachen? Geil! Wir fahren jetzt bald in den USA. Beim Euro Truck Simulator.
It's not driving, it's trucking. American Truck Simulator.
Ist schon länger bekannt, ich
If
wusste
you
davon
want
nichts.
to join in on the drive that I took from San Francisco to LA to be here, you can do it in American Truck Simulator. It was actually
Hört
made
mal auf
using
zu lachen,
Google
ihr
Maps.
miesen
It's
Wichser.
totally sweet. No woo for Google Maps? Thank you. Yeah, it's how I found here. Now, one of the big elephants in the room in PC gaming right now is virtual reality. Everyone's excited about it. We heard AMD talk about how they're developing technology specifically for it. But it's unclear exactly what the killer app is, what the killer experience is that will bring VR to the forefront. But the man that I'm about to invite onto the stage, he has some ideas with a product called Eve Valkyrie. Let's bring on to the stage Ryan Geddes from CCP. Hey, John. Ryan, hey! Good to see you. Welcome. Thank you. Now, Ryan, right off the bat, I dabbled with Oculus a few years ago, and it felt a little awkward to both control the movement of a character, but then also be moving my head around to look around. What makes, in your eyes, Eve Valkyrie a more compelling natural experience for VR?
Yeah, so with Valkyrie, we are trying to essentially make what is the essence of space combat. So we are putting you right in the cockpit of a Valkyrie fighter in the Eve universe, shooting you out of a tube into space, and basically just surrounding you with combat. So it's people locking onto you, missiles, machine guns. You're working as a team. You're really trying to survive out there in space. So
now, and I actually got the chance to try it out last night, and they filmed me. So let's watch me trying on Eve Valkyrie right now. It'll be my first time putting on an Oculus headset in 3-4 years or something.
What the fuck?
The last time I did this,
Das sieht ganz anders aus.
So let's see what happens. Holy shit. I have to kill the enemies. Get him, get him. Kill him, shoot him, come here. Kill him. Look at me go. Shit, I'm gonna fall over. Oh my God. Oh my God, that is so intense. My proudest moment.
Oh, die da ist süß.
And I mean, I cannot stress how intense of an experience it is to sort of look up in the cockpit and just and try to steer the whole ship. I mean, do you find players, overwhelmed playing for such long periods of time? It's such an intense, visceral experience.
Yeah, I think once you get it,
Haben die Spielszenen
it's
von
fine.
Eve
You can play for a long
gezeigt?
time,
Ja.
just like you would any other
Mit
competitive shooter. But
Waren
we
Tabellen
find
zu
that when people
sehen?
first
Mit
put
der
on the headset
Oculus.
and they get in the
Nein,
cockpit and
der
they're out
ist
there in
Flieger
space,
hinterhergeflogen
they're
und
not
abgeschossen.
looking around them at first because it's not natural to do that. We're used to playing on a 2D plane where the thumbsticks or the mouse and keyboard control our character. In Valkyrie, you really get situational awareness by moving your head around at all times, keeping your head on a pivot, looking up, above you, seeing where your teammates are, where the enemies are. And once that clicks for you, once you get that, you really feel like you're there. And when you take the headset off, it's kind of weird to not be there all of a sudden, because that's how immersive it is.
I felt that immediately.
Maybe sit down next time you play instead of standing up, just for safety.
Probably not poorly planned. I mean, how many of these design elements had to be changed for the VR experience when contrasted with this just being like, a 2D monitor space sim?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this game was built completely from the ground up for VR. So
really?
Yeah, it was born on VR. We did not make a game first and bring it over. So for us, it was about learning how to make games in VR, which no one's really done before on this level. And so for us, it's about finding out how does the UI work, the different focal lengths. Like, you don't want to be looking at something up close and then having to switch very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, do simple menus become...
Es wird kein Half-Life 3 kommen, Leute.
Yeah, I mean, we have to think about it differently. I mean, you don't want to be pulling down menus and having things all over the screen. You have to interact with it. It really has to be seamless, fluid. Our goal is actually really to put you there, to have that sense of presence and immersion and make you feel like you're in the cockpit and to be really in the moment with you, your teammates, fighting against the other team. So, I mean, everything from how you use cover in VR and tactics that you would use as a team, it's all different. I mean, that station there, in a real match, you could go all the way under and around and up above to use that as cover.
Oh, I did that. That freaked me right the hell out, yeah. And, this is a pretty big endeavor to embark upon with a technology that's not widely adopted yet. I mean, what is CCP's sort of long-term view on VR?
We are obviously, very, very big into VR. We think it's one of the future directions that gaming's going, especially on the PC platform. So, I mean, we believe in it a lot. I mean, at CCP for a long time, we've sort of said, internally we want to make games more meaningful than real life, right? And we had to qualify that a lot before VR came along. People kind of thought we were crazy. Now the VR is here, and we can kind of do things that we've always dreamed of doing in games, in virtual reality. We don't really have to as much qualify that statement. So it's very exciting.
Is the goal to eventually sort of combine this with the EVE experience?
For us, we see EVE Online and EVE Valkyrie as very separate experiences. I mean, this game is really all about getting you into the cockpit, getting you out, getting you into combat. It's multiplayer, competitive, space combat.
Right.
It's very different than EVE, and they work very, very separately from one another. EVE has combat and has intense moments, as anybody who's been gate camped knows. But it's also it's a lot more too about the metagame, the politics, the corporation. This is just purely about the thrill and the intensity of combat.
And for any of you who have not gotten the chance to try it, I strongly recommend you give it a shot. It is an absolutely insane, intense experience, and I can't wait to see it in full form. Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming out.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Wer soll denn das ankündigen? Ganz einfach. Pelé.
Our very next guest is one of the creators of a game called DayZ.
Oh, der kriegt Buhrufe, der hat eher Buhrufe verdient.
He worked on DayZ for quite a while before departing to create his own studio and his upcoming project.
Bevor genug Kohle abkassiert hat, um das Ding dann unfertig stehen zu lassen.
Dean! Welcome to the show, Dean.
Cheers.
Now, Dean, I want to start right away by talking about early access. You're one of the people with the biggest range of experience with early access. What do you feel like the status of it is right now?
Well, I guess I kind of have mixed feelings in some ways. Like, it's given us games like Prison Architect. It also has its challenges, both for consumers and developers.
Right.
And, I mean, I think Valve's refund program has helped a bit with maybe perceptions and stuff like that. But it's challenging as a developer, particularly when your game gets really popular.
Now, that seems sort of paradoxical. I feel like most people would say, oh, it's great to be popular, but what was the strain that you were under?
Well, I mean, one of the advantages of early access is, like with Kerbal Space Program, the scope was allowed to get bigger. But if your game gets really popular and you're continually redefining your scope, then you kind of lose perspective of your roadmap. And I think that's why I feel the roadmap's super important.
Yeah, and what exactly would that constitute? Like, if you were working on another early access launch, how would you want to communicate it outwardly to the community?
Ja, der Sie-Entwicklung allein gelassen, weil er ein bisschen den Mount Everest besteigen wollte.
And hopefully people know it, it's PC Gamer, so it had a really great roadmap that told you like what stuff was completed, and I think that was something I learned as being super important, because otherwise people don't have a picture of where your game's at.
So with your upcoming game, Ion, let's take a look at some of the trailer footage, and I want to know what, in your eyes, is the first big target for a project that's this ambitious?
Well, I think actually a great game is more about what you don't put in than what you do. So I guess in some ways it's easier to describe what this isn't. You know, it's not Star Citizen, it's not Elite, it's not Eve. We wanted to look at what happens inside the stations. So we're using a more Diablo-style camera. It's based on a game that I absolutely love called Space Station 13. Has anyone played Space Station 13 out there? Yeah, look at that.
You and you.
Honk,
yes.
honk, honk, honk. So, yeah.
You. Drei Leute.
So, yeah, I guess that's kind of where I come from.
Aber gut zu wissen.
Yeah, I'm actually curious with Ion. I mean, this sort of footage, it sort of hints to the gameplay. But, if I open up Ion, what am I literally seeing and literally doing in the game in those early steps?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to give people an opportunity to see what it's like to, be a pioneer and go around the stations. So we're sort of stitching together these regions and then allowing players to have their own region and then, walk around the region. So, yeah, I mean, we wanted to get back from that first-person view and actually get back into that Diablo-style view. So it becomes more about what you're doing in the game.
So is it not a 3D environment, or is it like 2D with like a Z
No,
plane?
it's a 3D environment. It's not true isometric, but yeah. Offset camera.
So, I mean, I know that there's a lot of ambition going into this project, and there's some people that feel like you abandoned the DayZ project. It had such a huge, ambitious scope. I mean, it pretty much spawned the zombie survival genre, and then you departed. I know a lot of people were upset. I mean, I think even on your Twitter it said that you're going to block people who talk about DayZ.
I did for a while, yeah.
Nice.
I didn't, though. Like, yeah, that's kind of stupid.
Well, now you can mute them. I'm kidding. Please tweet at me at Day9TV. Now, well, I'm curious how, with that stigma, how you try to shirk that and deal with that when you're working on this next project.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, learning the lessons. And I think that when I first came up with DayZ, it was an accident. I mean, it was a mod that I thought maybe 50 people would play, but a lot of people played it. And when I first looked at what to do, I realized I didn't have the resources, and so I sold it to Bohemia, who I knew had the ability to make the game. And I stayed a lot longer than I'd originally intended, but Ion is an example of a game that I've always wanted to make, and yeah, so it's a challenge, and I think really it's now about me proving that I have learned lessons and that, yeah, we deliver on stuff.
So, what do you expect to be a timeline to where we can begin to get our hands on it? What would you want that initial prototype to be?
Well, we're showing very little at the moment because we're very conscious that to really make early access work and to make a decent game, we need to have more of a Besieged-style approach. Who's played Besieged? Yeah, look at that. It's good, right?
I built a catapult.
They made a really polished core, and I think that's exactly what early access needs. So that's what we're doing. We don't have an exact time frame for that. We've already pushed a couple of times. Yeah.
Now, because we only have a short time left, I have to ask, having played DayZ, I want to know for Ion, what's the best bug thus far?
Oh, the best bug, yeah. So fairly recently, when you were clicking on another player, all their organs fell out. So we... Yeah, so it's a persistent game, so when your brain fell out, you couldn't do anything. So, and also your liver is kind of important.
And if a kidney falls out, you're actually okay, you have another kidney, right?
That's right, yeah. Although all your organs fell out, so...
So you have realistic organ simulation in
Ion? Yeah. The technology we're using, Improbable, the company that I've partnered for a joint venture in London, they've made this amazing technology that allows us to simulate all entities in the world. And I think that's what's really been able to allow us to double down on the concept.
Well, you've teased a lot of cool ideas. I look forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Dean Hall.
Thanks, PC Gamers.
Thank you, Dean.
PC.
I'm going to step around my chair and the unusual suitcase brought from AMD, but I'm not entirely sure what's inside. Because this is now a time to halt talking and to do the first live demo on stage. Ooh. Yes, thank you for buying into that. The game is going to be one that you may have seen on Kickstarter that had one of the best Kickstarter videos of all time. It's a game called Strafe. Please join me in welcoming from Pixel Titans, Tom Gallant and Stephen Rainey. Hello, welcome.
What's up, dog?
Let's go ahead and get set up over here on the side. Now, I've seen the Kickstarter video, and I want to know a little bit about what the inspiration
der steht, der sieht riesengroß aus.
The inspiration for Strafe is paying homage to the games we loved in our childhood. Doom,
I do. I tell them I'm crying.
Voll gut, dass man irgendwen hört, aber ihn nicht.
Yeah. I mean, well, first let's talk about the environment. My understanding is that everything in the game has a procedurally generated component to it. So in terms of the environment, is everything we're seeing procedural, or are these handcrafted rooms?
These are all handcrafted rooms. Each zone will have 40 to 50 rooms in it, filled with entrances, exits, different geometry, and secrets. And the engine kind of, puts them together. They'll unlock them, change things every time you play. Enemies have behaviors, so every time you jump in, it should be a different experience.
And you talked about the idea of having secrets locked in there. You're talking about the Quake Doom style, really capturing that element?
Yeah, we have a bunch of monster closets in the game, tied to different events, as well as just having unique levels and very different gameplay experiences in the secret levels.
So, how do you play test the sort of procedurally generated environment?
Also ich muss sagen, ich bin froh, dass das Spiel am PC kommt.
Ich glaube, die PS4 würde da nicht packen.
By all means. We have a lot of scripting that will tell the levels how to behave, and just through playing them again and again and again, we're able to find the things we like and we don't like and just work around it.
And in terms of these monsters, is there a fixed set? Do they randomly get paired with the room? Because I'm noticing the sort of rock monsters the first time we've gotten a chance to see them.
Oh yeah, well this whole zone is brand new. We're showing it off here first. Some of these enemies are brand new, and they all have different behaviors. They don't just see you and run after you. So the rock monster, he starts in a hiding state. He'll aggro, and then there's different, I guess, waves of his behavior.
I gotta say, I love the very chunky bullets. Each bullet is clearly a rectangular prism. I mean, I know you've talked about the goal of being an homage to these old games, but you do have the opportunity to use more advanced technology. Where do you ride the line between wanting new and fresh and wanting to stick true to the old vision?
Well, we wanted to bring things that couldn't happen back then to the game. So we have all of the blood and the guts in the game are persistent. So every time you play, you just can paint rooms red. You can
cover
them with this
acid.
So if you actually step on the acid, you'll get hurt. So you can actually
Tut mir schrecklich leid. Das ist
these weapons you just picked up a rocket launcher,
oder Quake.
You can't reload
Das gab's Ende der 90er schon, Junge.
Oh, really? Empty them and then they turn into a different type of weapon. The rocket launcher turns into a baseball bat, melee style weapon.
So this is a gun that we're about to see thrown?
Yes.
So when my gun runs out of bullets, I just throw it?
Yes. When you start the game, you choose between a machine gun, a railgun, and a shotgun.
Okay.
And those will be your core weapons throughout the game, in which you level them up, you they adapt and evolve.
Es ist ja niemand unbedingt so, die Grafik ist
There'll be
scheiße,
plenty of things for you to play within the game.
So of course I got to know, what is the sort of expected gameplay loop like of someone who sits down to play?
Well, you jump in, you shoot stuff in the face, you paint shit red, and then you die and do it over again. So,
clean and elegant. You should hang out with Tripwire.
Love those guys.
Thank you so much for showcasing Strafe. Again, guys, please check it out. The Kickstarter video is hilarious. The persistent shooter.
Stream wurde angekündigt. Falls ich es noch nicht mitbekommen habe. Guter Punkt.
Setting up the next game for us as well. Oh, such a gentleman. Now, there's a genre of game that I grew up playing in the form of things such as Fallout 1 and 2. Oh, yes. And the fact that there's a renaissance of these classic RPGs has me so excited, has me tickled, which is why it is my absolute pleasure to announce the upcoming expansion to Pillars of Eternity, The White March.
Pillars of Eternity.
Tad Nur is restored by your hand, and word of that deed has traveled far. I write from the White March beneath the shadow of Durgan's battery, the impenetrable fortress, the last hope of my dying down.
Ich meine, wir haben das bekommen, was wir erwartet
The
haben.
legendary
Gar
White
nichts.
Forge lies dormant, unclaimed since the builder's disappearance. It stands as an immense opportunity. Others have tried and failed.
Pillars of Eternity.
Breach the fortress. Reclaim the secrets of Durgan's steel. The White Forge must burn again.
Ich weiß nicht, wieso ich das jetzt witzig finde. Ich bin so froh, dass wir uns entschieden haben, noch bis zu dieser PK wach zu bleiben auch.
It's time to welcome the CEOs of Obsidian and Paradox, Fergus, Burkhardt, and Frederick Wester. Hey, welcome back.
All righty, nice
Good to see you.
Oh,
well, there needs to be a traffic light up here, I know. Thank you so much. Now,
Also Pillars of Eternity ist echt ein gutes Spiel.
Tell us about the White March.
Well, the White March is the first part of the expansion we're doing for Eternity. It's a whole lot more Eternity. I mean, we've been making RPGs for years, and the funnest thing about doing expansions is you get to just add more, and we're doing more companions, we're doing soulbound weapons, we're doing higher level cap, we're doing a ton of stuff, and of course, you know, what we're really known for a lot is the dialogue and the writing, and we're doing even more than we did for the main game.
And, you know, I know that Pillars of Eternity was kickstarted for $4 million, and now you're teaming up with Paradox. Talk to me a little bit about your partnership.
Well, we've known each other for a couple of years, so we know each other pretty well, and we...
Too well, sometimes.
Sometimes too well. We can sit for hours and discuss whether Highlander is a great movie or Plain Out Terrible, and that's great. So
that was such a jab to put in there. I love that.
So when the opportunity came up to work with Obsidian, we just said it's perfect because we want to work long-term with our partners. They're used to working very close to their audiences, just like we are at Paradox as well.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect match. We even had like close to 20 people at Paradox who had been backers in the Pillars of Eternity Kickstarter.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I think, you know, a big thing about, I think what's great about teaming up with Paradox, I mean, they're guys that think like we do. About games. They love PC games. They love the weird games that we make and hardcore and it's great now to kind of see this kind of new way of seeing games published and being able to work with people that kind of really like it's not these giant console games which are great, but it's great that we can now offer like different games that you know 5 or 6 years ago might have been hard to do.
Well, I mean, I know that many people consider Pillars of Eternity to be sort of one of the darlings of the Kickstarter movement, but there's also there's so much controversy in there with projects asking for small budgets. 'Cause I mean, some games need $10 million to make the minimum viable prototype, but you know, with $4 million, how do you
do it?
Balance that with the community expectation as well as wanting to make a good game?
Well, I think first of all, we're old. You know, and so we've been doing, so we do this for a while, right? And we and particularly back at Black Isle Studios, you know, we worked on Planescape Torment, we worked on Icewind Dale, we worked
Planescape Torment. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, that's okay. All I'm really responsible for is the combat, and the combat wasn't that great. So, but we, you know, we really learned how to make those games. We always wanted to continue to make those games. And so when we got the $4 million, and then we actually got another $1 million between when the game kickstarted and kind of towards launch. And so, you know, for about and ended up being our budget was about $5.5 million. So we were able to do it, really close to kind of what we got out of Kickstarter.
Wow. I mean, from a publisher's perspective, I mean, what are your thoughts on the way Kickstarter is now changing the market?
Kickstarter, first and foremost, we've been on the fence ourselves to do a Kickstarter, and the most obvious reason for that is that you set expectations for the project very early, and everyone who's been for a few years in the games industry knows that your first idea is not necessarily the game that reaches the market X months later. So that has been something that kept us away from it. But when we started talking to Obsidian about Pillars of Eternity, they were already so far ahead in development that we could see this is going to be the final product. And these guys have been making games for 100 years, so it felt really safe.
That's amazing. So, I mean, is it trying to balance the vision against what you're presenting, or is it just about, you know, if that vision does change, do you feel comfortable communicating that, or is it just not an issue for the?
No, I think a lot of it is. I mean, we're in the first foremost, we're gamers, and we do always bite off more than we can chew, right? And
standard.
So I mean, it's just like, you know, if you know, we really should only do 6 classes. Now let's do 11. You know, and so and a lot of that is in the excitement of the Kickstarter. You can offer a little too much, and I think we even did to an extent. But in the end, you know, I think it's all about
I think we
in the end ist es auch verlinkt. So wie mit Johann
ist, oder? And I feel we did, and we are super thankful to all our backers that let us do it.
Trotzdem
I'm super excited to see the White March soon, guys. Thank you so much
Awesome.
for coming
Thank
out.
you.
Yeah. Fergus, Frederick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you guys enjoying yourselves tonight? So far, so good?
Yeah!
We cover a lot of material on this show.
And
our next guest is a name that many of you know. He is the legendary creator of Elite and Elite Dangerous. He is the CEO of Frontier Developments. Let's welcome David Braben.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're in a real golden age of PC gaming, and we at Frontier are proud to be a part of it with Elite Dangerous. We've had 3 great updates to the game already since launch, but that's just the start. Woo! Yeah! That's just the start. There is so much to come on PC to announce soon. But today, I want to talk about something a little different. It's a game we've wanted to make for a long time. Another game we wanted to make for a long time. It's the revival of a great genre, and it's coming to PC in 2016. It's available for pre-order now on the Frontier store, and this is what it looks like.
Schädische Krankheit. Die presst sich aus. Ja, jetzt haben wir aber auch echt ein bisschen mehr. Das war schade. Aber witzig. Das will mir keiner vorwerfen.
Ach, bei uns macht man so alles. Ja, richtig. Ach so, lol.
Oh, das war's zum Titan.
Ja, ich weiß noch nicht, ich meine, es befinden sich 2 in Arbeit. Aber es gab eins, das wurde von vornherein schon als Scheiße betitelt, das andere, weiß nicht. Nichts das jetzt. Planet Coaster.
Das ist nicht Roller Coaster, sondern Planet Coaster.
Ja, da weiß man halt jetzt schon wieder nicht.
Thank you so much, David. That's a very different tone from Elite Dangerous, and looks lovely. Now we have a very different genre coming up next, a genre that I find to be one that would be very hard to develop for. It is the MMO genre. Please join me in welcoming the director of ArenaNet to talk about the expansion for Guild Wars 2, Heart of Thorns, Colin Johansson. Welcome!
Oh, das ist der Bruder von Scarlett.
Hey, Colin.
Hey!
Now, Colin, I know there's a lot of content in Heart of Thorns.
There is.
And one of the big things you want to talk about today
In
was
what?
Guild Hall.
Yes, so I'm here today to reveal a world exclusive, our Guild Halls feature, which is our big social feature for Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns. And we believe that these online worlds should really be about creating opportunities to bring players together. That's why we make games, hundreds of players playing around in maps.
Makes sense for an MMO, yes. Let's not keep them separated.
And Guild Halls is our answer to how we allow these players that we're bringing together to have a truly meaningful impact on our world and to own a part of that world. And I brought a world-exclusive trailer here today to show what they look like.
Well, let's take a look.
Was?
Was ist krass?
Lass mal das so. Könnte das nicht dazu beitragen, dass manche Elite, die sich die Leute vorher getroffen haben, extrem
You know, this still makes me laugh because you described guild halls as a social feature, but that looked like a lot of shit.
Yeah, guild halls are a lot more than a hall. They are an entire map that your guild gets to own. And the way these work is basically the map begins owned by the jungle dragon and its armies. And the guilds will band together, they'll fight their way into the jungle, and they'll actually fight their way through this hall to capture the map for their guild. Once they own it, it becomes basically their home to customize, personalize, grow, and develop. And there's so many features carried within this that players can experience. You can form guild teams now, and from here you can take your guild team out, you can compete in the competitive PvP leaderboards, and compete to the top of our world leaderboards, which is a new feature we're adding with guild halls. You can go on guild missions through the guild portal, where it opens up a portal your entire guild can take, and all together you can go out in the world and you can complete guild puzzles, go on guild treks, guild races. Within the guild hall itself, you can build all these different buildings as well as your guild progresses and grows. There's so much customization in here and fun for guilds to have.
I haven't even gotten to ask you. So, I mean, how much are we not getting to see here?
There's a ton. I'll tell you about what some of these buildings are that we're looking at right now. For example, this first one that you can build is an arena. This is actually a combat sandbox that a guild can own. They can customize it, they can fight against their friends, their guild, they can invite other guilds in and they can brawl against each other. You can decorate this arena, you can put up walls, you can set up traps, you can put down turrets, and you can even change the decorations live while combat is going on, while people are in there fighting against each other to change up the experience. Another one of the buildings that you can build is the workshop. And the workshop is a place where we're adding an entirely new guild-specific crafting profession, where you can make items for all the people in your guild. And within there as well, you can build items that they can take out in the world and use to play the content that we've built in the game.
Well, this was a very easy segment for me. That was great. My host, Colin, yay! Now, I mean,
wenn der Typ lacht, kriege ich Aggressionen
some
auf
of this
den.
that we're seeing right now on screen with this assault on this castle?
Yeah, so one of the really cool buildings that you can build in your guild hall is actually the War Room. And the War Room allows you to build tools that you can take into our epic hundreds of players world versus world PvP. And you can use these tools and take them with your guild. You can claim objectives and use those tools to help your guild attack and defend objectives in world versus world. So for example, here, this guild is taking control of a castle, and they're actually able to call in airships that circle around and defend the castle and bombard it as long as the guild is able to hold it. And they can wage war against other guilds in world versus world through our War Room.
Well, you know, honestly, Colin, I'm just going to ask you a pretty simple question. Anything else you want to talk about today? I mean, part of the reason why I joke about this is that I find MMOs to be such a difficult genre to develop for because people just rip through the content so quickly, and this just looks like an incredibly large expansion. What else can you tell us?
Well, I have one more big announcement today, and that is very soon we're going to be turning on pre-sales for Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns. And just like before the release of Guild Wars 2, pre-purchasing will guarantee you access to all of our open beta events that are coming up.
And how soon's very soon?
We are starting pre-purchase right now. So you can go to the guildwars2.com website.
Well, Colin, thank you for making this segment extremely easy for me.
Absolutely, yeah. And we hope to see everybody in our pre-purchase soon.
Colin Johansson from ArenaNet. Thank you, Colin. Wow. That felt nice. Coming up next is yet another PC franchise that I am amazed is 15 years old. It is an upcoming game called Hitman. Let's bring out
Guck mal,
Lakana
vielleicht sind wir da
Brock,
noch
the
in
director at IO Interactive.
Hey Peter,
ich bin noch da.
Okay.
A noble bow, Hakan.
Der hat eine Glatze, guck mal, das ist Agent
Right
47.
away, right away, I have to ask, how long have you been working on the Hitman franchise?
Me?
Yeah.
It's almost 10 years now.
Ja, sehr gut, man
10
hört ihn
years.
nicht.
10 years of hits and assassination.
Yeah, like
Nice
when
job.
you're in this place, are you just imagining exit routes and who do you need to eavesdrop on?
Eigentlich könnten wir den synchronisieren.
So, I mean, I want to go ahead and take a look at some of the footage from your upcoming game. I mean, when I got the chance to first look at this, it very much so looked like Hitman stepping into the digital age. Because, I mean, when Hitman first came out, so many of the technologies we use day to day aren't even present.
So we tried something new and bold with Hitman. It's just Hitman. It's called just Hitman. It's 15 years, as you said, 15 years of...
Vor allem die ganze Zeit sein. Ja. Ja. Huh?
Well, I mean, what we're getting the chance to see here is these massive scale events that I'm...
Okay. Can you hear me now?
No. Well, I mean, right now we're seeing some of this footage that's on, it seems just like an absolutely massive scale. You talked to me a little bit before about that the gameplay is taking the sort of sandbox nature of these missions and trying to grow it. Well, that sounded like a working mic. Optical illusion. I mean, trying to take this and...
Can I just borrow your mic?
Yeah, here, you know what? No, come here. Lean close. No, this is how it works. Please. Embrace me warmly.
I'll never let you go.
Whisper the hits sweetly into my ear.
So, all right, so what you're seeing there in the footage is it's Paris. It's a location called Paris, and you're in there to take out a target called Novichok. And I mean, the locations we have here are the biggest we've ever made. You know, compared to the older games, they are 6-7 times bigger.
What?
A lot more NPCs in there, a lot more complex, deep, high-definition sandboxes.
And I mean, you did talk to me before about the idea of live events being a core piece. I mean, can you expand upon that?
Yeah,
like right now, for instance, we're at this fashion show.
Yeah. Right. So, so Hitman is, you know, a new bold move for us. Before we've been working years on a game and put it in a box and just put it out there, right? Just hoping everything went well, right? Some things gamers would love, and some other things, well, we could have tweaked that, right?
Right.
So what we're doing right now, we are launching the experience at 8th of December, digital launch, where we'll have the opportunity to grow, deepen, and expand the universe. We call it the world of assassination, right? So, you know, work that with the gamers and community to get input to, you know, tweak the features, but also make sure that the content that will evolve and come later will be the best possible Hitman experience for them.
And I want to come back to something you said earlier, where you said that the size of these kinds of simulations that you could run is so much larger. What does that sort of specifically entail?
Right. So compared to the levels we've been doing before. For example, let me put it this way. So Hitman is, you know, the best that we have from, you know, the graphical fidelity from Absolution and the big sandboxes from Blood Money. That's just taken up to another level. So we're talking about 6-7 times bigger locations, no checkpoints. It's really the ultimate assassination experience, right?
And I mean, with so many extra NPCs and characters,
right?
I mean, one of the things that I always note about the Hitman games is how many players have figured out weird, new, unusual ways to solve each mission. I mean, is this happening on a larger scale, or is it difficult to control that many independent elements?
I mean, we create a game where we know there is, you know, almost open-ended ways of killing the targets, but we also, as devs, are surprised when we, you know, on the prior games have seen YouTube being posted up with gamers bragging about, oh, I found a new creative way of taking out the target, right?
Yeah.
With Absolution, we introduced contracts. So once you're done with the targets in the campaign, in the story, you can play contracts, play to create,
Yeah.
right? You can use the sandbox, use the richness in it, and mechanics, and the NPCs, and mark your own targets, share that with your friends, compete with your friends in the community. Now, just going from the prior games to Hitman, just imagine, we're going from 55 NPCs to over 300, with the crowd on top of that, and the sheer size of checkpoint-less locations we deliver here is just amazing how deep and complex contracts that you can create.
Hallo Arthur.
Well, I have two things to say. For one,
was
I
hatten
mean,
wir
the
eigentlich für Zeiten?
graphics look absolutely beautiful. December 8th, you said, was the release?
Exactly.
Hallo Arthur.
December 8th, looking forward to the date. And of course, you smell amazing. Thank you, Hakan, for coming out.
Thank you.
Now, of course, the technology that is helping, the technology that is helping make this possible, we talked about a little bit earlier in the show. And I'm thrilled to get the chance to bring on right now the CEO of AMD, Lisa Su, to talk about some new product lines coming up. Developers, Lisa,
Ron,
welcome.
How are you?
I'm doing great, Lisa.
You're doing fantastic.
I am doing just wonderfully. Now, we just got the chance to look at some of the in-game gameplay footage. What is the sort of benchmarks you're trying to hit, the goals you're trying to make to deliver the best quality experience for a game like Hitman?
Well, you have had just an amazing group of people on this show today. And
Right?
Is it amazing?
Yes. Hey! I'm really glad you enjoy it.
And I mean, it says something about where PC gaming is going. And for us at AMD, it's about how do we enable those experiences. So take a look at Hitman. Wonderful game. It's all about 4K. It's all about enabling that experience and ensuring that we have the hardware to do that. So for us, it's how do we capture those key technologies that will enable that gameplay?
And when you talk about key technologies, I mean, I mentioned this a little to Richard that you have people worried about video streaming, VR, just general performance on single-player experiences. How do you balance all that sort of stuff?
The key for us is to really develop a portfolio. There's so many gamers out there, hundreds of millions of gamers, and everybody wants something different. So Richard talked about some of our new technology. We've had an incredibly busy day today, Sean, incredibly busy.
Yeah.
We launched 9 new cards. 9 new cards.
Is this one of the launch cards that I see hiding behind you?
Oh.
What is that?
There are a couple of cards that I'm going to tell you about. Can I tell you about a couple of them?
Lisa, I would love it if you told me about a couple cards.
All right. Well, that's what I'm going to do then.
Let's do it.
So our flagship that we launched was the Radeon R9 Fury X. This is the first card with high bandwidth memory that'll be available in the industry, and it's a beautiful card.
Beautiful.
Actually, you have 2 of them in your gaming rig right over there. So this card has incredible performance at 4K, completely designed for DX12.
Da kann man auch so geile
When you
Sachen
think
bei
about
erkennen,
VR
weißt du? Das ist für mich sehr wichtig,
this is
wie
what we
Grafikkarten
enable. And this is
aussehen.
our flagship card.
Denn,
now, we have a few others. And I'm going to show you this one because we usually think about gaming as these big honking cards.
Yes.
Well, with high bandwidth memory technology and our new technology, you can really do all kinds of neat things. So this is our newest Radeon R9 Nano. This is the fastest graphics card for 4K in the smallest form factor. So take a look at this. 6 inches long.
Is it? Do I get to have to touch to have it?
You can touch. I don't know about have.
Okay.
That's something.
It's surprisingly small.
But what we're really trying to show you is that new technology can really give you very, very different experiences. And so, sometimes you're going to want to build big gaming rigs. Sometimes you're going to want to build living room systems.
Yeah.
But you can always enjoy 4K performance on the greatest games.
And I know that you brought some unannounced stuff today.
We do have.
I'm wondering if I finally get to know about. Finally.
You might have a. Do you have a briefcase over there?
I have this case that's just been here. Is that okay?
Sean, you dropped my case on your desk here.
Sorry, should I be very?
Well,
I don't know what's in it.
Okay. So, a friend of mine is going to bring something on stage so that I can demonstrate the other technologies.
Mega geil, wenn der Shit da drin jetzt kaputt wäre.
Mega geil, das ist eine Karte.
Ron.
From the upcoming Hitman game.
Ach, das Ding wieder.
What is this?
So AMD is about innovation. And when you think about innovation, you think, how can I take the technology that we've described in hardware to really build a different type of system? So this system is actually a 16 teraflop gaming system that includes two of our new Fiji HBM GPUs. Now, if you think about it, this is a beautiful form factor. Everything, all the computing is encompassed here.
Yeah, I'll turn it around. You
That's
can see
right.
all the
So
ports
you can
on
see
this
all
side.
the ports.
I get to be Vanna
Ja,
White.
wow, ist unheimlich gut.
That was very good, Sean.
Thank you. I have a very
And then we
elegant-
have a very elegant cooling system here. But if you think about the power in here, I said there were 2 Radeon R9 Fury X's in that machine. There are 2 Fiji GPUs in this machine. So to show you that the technology is real, by the way, this thing is working. It's running some beautiful VR demos upstairs. Why don't we open the case?
I'm a little scared because I don't know if I broke it.
Ja, ich glaube, ich brauche dann auch
I'm sure you did okay.
noch so ein paar mehr Splitter als jetzt schon.
Let's examine what's in the box. It's literally glowing, and it is something I could have broken. What is it?
So, we wanted to save something for the PC gamers. For the very, very first time, we are showing a dual Fiji GPU card.
What?
Wow.
This is a card that powers these systems, and it tells you what the technology is capable of for PC gaming.
And I understand that these are upstairs right there right now for people to play with?
They're absolutely upstairs right there right now in Club AMD. So we have a bunch of wonderful games and demos up there. And you know, the main message I wanted to make sure that we left with you is AMD is about gaming, and AMD loves PC gaming. So, Sean, thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for coming out. You're like Santa.
Ich meine, die machen
Look at
Hafen.
all the toys.
Wenn die jetzt PC-Gaming passen würden,
Do I get to
dann wären die
just
eventuell
keep
im
these
falschen
here?
Geschäft.
I don't think so, Sean.
Also
But
das Ding ist
we might
natürlich,
come back next year and then we'll
Preise
talk
wären
about
natürlich
that.
Okay, well, I'll just keep the nice case here under the
I'm
table.
taking the card. He can keep the case.
kann natürlich eine
Thank you
Alternative
so
sein.
much for coming out, ladies and gentlemen. Lisa Sue, CEO.
Ja, ein bisschen was über die Hardware zu kennen, anstatt immer nur sich vor den Rechner zu setzen und zu sagen, ich will jetzt einfach nur spielen.
She only just left
Ist auch
one
okay.
thing that would have been so
All right.
excellent.
Got it done.
Our upcoming guests
Hat die gerade gesagt, I
are
got
known
it
just
done.
as much for their gaming franchise as for the
Yeah.
mods that are built on top of them from
Okay.
Bohemia Interactive. Let's welcome to the stage Joris Jan van Utland and Jay Crow. Welcome.
Good to see you.
Joris. Jay.
Perfect pronunciation.
Perfect pronunciation. 6.5 out of 10. So I want to ask, or I wanted to say right away, thank you so much, guys, for coming out. I love all the mods that your games are built on.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here. Finally, an event dedicated to PC gaming at E3.
Yeah.
Thank you for setting it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know a little bit about
What the fuck ist da
we're
gerade
going to see.
passiert?
My understanding is it's something a little bit special that no one else has seen here yet today.
Correct. We've been working on an expansion for Arma 3 for a couple of months, and it's finally the time now to show you the major component of it. So let's
Also die
roll the
Preise
video.
wurden schon bekannt gegeben. Okay.
Das ist das erste Mal, dass ich das gesehen habe, oder? Dieses World Exclusive, meine ich. Kameramann tot.
Nein, Arthur. Das Beste der PK fand ich bisher war die Ankündigung von American Trucks Simulator. Und das ist kein Spaß.
Das zweitbeste war dann ja wohl das Gears of War Ultimate Edition auf der PC.
Okay.
Wenn das schon das zweitbeste ist, ist das scheiße.
Aber was ist denn jetzt eigentlich? Arma 3. Tenor. New terrain.
Tanoa, the name of the upcoming terrain piece. I mean, tell me a little bit about what is Tanoa.
Yeah, well, welcome to Tanoa.
Okay, ich schaffe das nicht, bevor ich mir nicht noch ein Energy Drink hole.
Theater of War for Arma 3. It's the first time we've explored a Pacific island setting.
Soll ich dir was mitbringen?
Nee, what you're seeing is something like 100 square kilometers of jungly island archipelago terrain. It's sort of the crown jewel of, as Joris said, the expansion that we're working towards. Hopefully, the first half of 2016.
I mean, in all my playing of the Arma games, I've always felt like the terrain is one of the most important characters of the game. And I mean, we already see some architecture that's not really found in the rest of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I think the setting is something really fresh for the Arma series. And our environment lead, Martin, he's described this from the very beginning as a green hell. So it's a bit more raw and more gritty than your typical holiday resort. And I'm really looking forward to making some cool military scenarios in there.
Yeah. And I mean, I also saw that islands seem to be a pretty central component to that. I mean, is this going to change the way that the movement works for the player?
Well, it's certainly something new for the Arma series. I mean, I think like all of the terrains, which have been such a massive part of all of the games that we've made for the last 15 years, Generous and Altis, and now Tanoa, the core experience is the same. You know, it's a richly detailed, kind of authentic world, but definitely the islands, the archipelago, it's something new. It means exploring the islands a little bit differently. Maybe on the water is a bit more important this time, underwater as well.
Arthur hat gefragt, steht denn heute noch was Gutes ein? Und die Antworten sind die
And we talked about this right before you came on the stage, that you guys are such huge believers in modding. And this is like a brand new toy for modders.
Wenn der Chat nicht wäre, wäre ich schon 15.000 Mal eingeschlafen.
For modders to make all their creations on
Blizzard
can be anything from authentic military experiences to completely crazy stuff. I'm looking forward to dinosaurs myself, for example.
Well, I mean, I'm also a little bit curious about, we've talked about the terrain extensively, but what are some of the other new features and gameplay that will be coming along with Tanoa?
Well, we definitely know that we make a game as a platform. So we have our own vision of what Arma 3 is, and we also have to think about the modders. So the features that we're bringing along, like we see some of the screen space reflections, we see the water technology, so it's going to look a little bit more beautiful. DX12 is going to be something that will really kick on the performance, which is a really important part of the Arma 3 experience. Like, we want to really nail that down for the expansion. And a few other things aside, like the expansion itself is really a content pack built around Tanoa, but also with weapons and vehicles and local factions competing.
Well, I'm super excited to see the game, and of course, what the modding community is going to do. I mean, Daisy, Take on Mars are just incredible experiences. So, again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your amazing support of the modding community, guys. Right. Bohemia Interactive.
Geh nochmal zurück.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bitte kurz.
Thank you.
Now,
our next guest is working on an absolutely beautiful and unusual indie game called Beyond Eyes. Let's welcome to the stage Sharida Halato.
Oh, scheiße, du musst unseren Stream leise machen.
Hey! Welcome!
Hey!
Was? Ja, genau.
We'll finally get the chance to
da drin.
Please come join
Runterscrollen.
Wir auch nicht.
All right.
Aber auch wir.
Now, Sharida, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the core gameplay of Beyond Eyes.
Okay, so it's an exploration game, and it literally means that if you don't explore, you don't get to see anything, because the whole world is completely white until you start walking around. So because she's blind, she kind of uses her other senses to visualize the world. So if she smells things or if she hears certain sounds, she will just visualize them as she perceives them at that moment.
Zum Beispiel, wo dieses
but then because she's kind of sheltered, she doesn't always have the right reference to pull from. So she hears something, and she thinks of something that she knows because it's familiar in a garden, for example, like a fountain or something. But then when she comes closer and smell kind of starts coming in, she realizes this is not a fountain, it's actually a very nasty sewer drainage. And you kind of play with that.
I mean, the big thing that I always, immediately strikes me when I see the footage is just the beautiful art style. But of course, audio is a really interesting piece to the way that the environment's explored.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that, audio as a mechanic.
Yeah, sure. I can do that. No, I wanted to make the game work on several levels. So with the audio design for the game, we started thinking about sounds that are similar to other sounds. and kind of identify what something can be. And the same thing, like we wanted to make sure that the way it's visualized works with that theme as well.
I mean, in terms of the art style, as you're iterating through, you're talking about visual representations different from what it actually is. What was that process like of testing these to make sure that the player wouldn't be confused while exploring these environments?
So originally when I started making this game, I was in college, so we would basically, I started working on it with a friend, and we would have this basket of cupcakes, and like say to other people, other classmates of us who were also testing, like, can you come in, you get a free cupcake, here's a bunch of sounds, the textures, smells, can you tell me what you think it is? To kind of get that baseline of what some things that, how things are perceived by different people based on their experiences. So that was kind of the start of it. And yeah, after that it's just a lot of thinking and talking to people and trying, basically, iterating on the thing.
And what has really been a big challenge for you as an indie developer working on a first-time
title? Oder man Vorher-Nachher-Bild sehen?
Scope.
Warte.
Basically, yes. So beyond that, I think I was lucky that I never made and released the game before, because I probably... So I've been working on the game for 4 years.
Yeah.
And if I had known from the start that it was going to be this long of a process, I probably would have contained myself a little better, but because I didn't know, I kind of got very overly excited and kept adding things, and it became a lot bigger and more ambitious. So getting the scope there was certainly a good lesson for a future project.
Well, I've said this before, and I will continue to say it. I think the art style is absolutely beautiful, and I look forward to the final product. Thank you so much, Sharita.
Thank you, Sharita, for coming here.
Now, our next guest game you may have seen if you've been tuning into Twitch lately, as many of the top streamers have been blasting each other to death in it. It's a game called Dirty Bomb. We're going to bring to the stage the CEO of Splash Damage. It's Paul Wedgwood.
You know, for the past 10 years, we've been so fortunate to work on some of the world's biggest intellectual properties: Wolfenstein, Quake, Doom, Batman Arkham Origins, and we've just announced our collaboration with the Coalition on Gears of War. But today is actually a real first for us, because Dirty Bomb is the first shooter in the entire history of Splash Damage that we own that's actually our game. And that control gives us a completely unique approach to the way that we make it. Just 9 months after starting, more than 2 years ago, we involved the whole community in the game in our private forums, and we've had tens and thousands of messages posted in support of the game, giving us feedback on competition, collaboration, and so on. So we're really pleased to announce this trailer. Head on over to the PC Gamer website for a giveaway of a mercenary called Fragger. You can get your Steam code there today and view the full version of this trailer as well. Thank you very much.
Some men fight for a higher cause. Honor, justice, freedom. Some call these men heroes. We call them scrubs. Guys, ready the fuck up. We're not soldiers, we're hired guns. And there's only one thing we fight for. Cold, hard cash.
Destroy the primary objective! For armed.
this world, if you want to clean up, you got to play dirty.
Jetzt wollen die sich mal in der Trash-Note angucken.
Dirty Bomb, ladies and gentlemen. A trailer that always makes me laugh. And now let's take a look at a completely different kind of first-person experience. A game recently announced from the maker of Gone Home. Their upcoming title is called Tacoma. Let's bring to the stage Steve Gaynor from Fulbright.
Die ziehen das eiskalt durch mit diesen 2 Stunden. Welcome. Läuft jetzt schon 1 Stunde 50 Minuten, dieses
Now, I know that
Event,
Tacoma was
diese Show.
revealed yesterday. The teaser trailer's been out for a little bit. We're going to take a look at it now, and this is really the first chance that we get to talk about the game. I mean, walk me through what the experience of Tacoma is.
Also Dirty Bomb soll tatsächlich ganz gut sein. Trash Night sind doch nicht nur schlechte Spiele, sondern Free-to-Play-Spiele, die beiden testen.
But in this case, unlike that game, we're in a near-future kind of high-tech space station setting, where not only are you seeing these kind of digital recordings of things that happen on the station, but you can use the zero-gravity environment to your advantage to propel yourself through the environment and see it from all different angles.
What are the sort of gameplay opportunities that open up when you get that sort of zero-G space?
Well, I think something that is, I guess, in a way limiting about your traditional kind of walking simulator, if you will, is it all effectively takes place on a 2D plane. You know, like you're in this room and you're walking here and you're looking for things, and that can be very interesting. But what we're excited about with Tacoma is you can be here and you can say, I found what's here, but if I could get up there, and I could go across the ceiling over there and find out what else there is to discover. You can basically treat this 3-dimensional space as a fully 3-dimensional playground for exploration.
So it's like parkour light. You can really just go over there if you want to go over there.
Yeah, parkour is a lot less dangerous when there's not gravity involved.
True statement. Now, you've talked a little bit about the growing ambition of Tacoma when compared to Gone Home, and that you also want it to be a free-form experience. But how do you make sure that you're not letting a player slip off the rails in an environment like a space station?
I mean, I guess, you know, it all comes down to level design, right? Like, to use the environment to give the player the freedom to explore it on their own, to not say, you have to go here, then there, and really, like, guide the player by the nose and say, here's how you have to play the game, but still let the environment point them to say, well, there might be something here. If you're finished here, this might still be interesting over here. And basically work in collaboration with the player to help them find all the cool stuff in the game without forcing their hand, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Gone Home was a relatively small environment in a house. I mean, how large is the space station Tacoma?
It's definitely not an expansive city-sized facility, right? It's a small way station between the Earth and the Moon. There's a crew of 6 that live there, you know, year-round. And so it is still kind of an intimate space where these people live their lives, but obviously very, very different from a family's home in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it's probably hard to get reference points in a space station that you would in a house.
Right, yeah. You can't exactly just, you know, open up a Sears catalog from the 90s and say what kind of furniture would there have been in this space station. So that's one of the things that we're really excited about is Gone Home was really about recreating a point in time and a place that has really existed.
Yeah.
And with Tacoma, we're able to imagine what this place might be like 70 years from now and where the world we live in now could lead to. And that's the world that the characters in the game live in. That's really what you're discovering as you play.
And I really think it's so cool the way you've taken the sort of familiar mechanic of the first-person exploration and really created a story around the environment with Gone Home and now with Tacoma. So thanks so much for coming out to talk about it a little bit.
Awesome.
So,
thank you so much for having me.
Steve Gaynor from Fulbright.
Thanks, everybody. Cool. Cheers, man.
Now here's an introduction that has a little bit of personal pain associated with it. There's a game I streamed myself playing a while ago called Amnesia: The Dark Descent. It was emasculating. The game's pretty scary.
Ja, nur der zweite Teil war scheiße.
And of course, the folks over at Frictional Studios have been hard at work continuing to expand the horror genre with their upcoming title, Soma. Let's bring on the stage Ian Thomas to talk about it.
Hi, guys. Thank you, Sean. So yeah, since we released Amnesia nearly 5 years ago now, we've been working on something a bit different. We really wanted to take horror in a slightly different direction. We wanted to take what we'd done with Amnesia, deepen it, but start asking some really disturbing questions about our place in the world, about identity, and about what it really means to be human. So we created Soma. It's a new horror game. It's set deep under the sea, and you're about to see some never-before-seen footage of it. Go ahead.
Achso, ich bin kleiner geworden, weil ich meine Füße hochgelegt habe. Ich glaube, das sah wirklich gut aus.
Catherine, are you in there? Catherine?
Be quiet! Don't look at it!
Alter. Alter. Geil. 22. September. Finde ich gut.
Already stressed out. Coming up next, we talked about this game a little bit before, an extremely popular mod from Arma. It's a game called Daisy that is under continued development right now. Let's bring out the project lead. It's Brian Hicks. Brian, welcome to the stage.
I feel a little underdressed. You look fantastic.
Do I look fantastic?
You do.
That was such a vain question. Although I will say I'm very proud of this tie. I tied it myself.
Ach, was für Hardy, dann kann der wieder so tun, als hätte dich so krass erschrocken, dass er
deserve applause. I love eventual applause. That's my goal. Now, of course, I want to begin by talking about the fact that Daisy has been in early access for one of the longest of any games in early access.
Well, almost.
Very nearly.
No, that's a good point. We're just past our 1.5-year mark now, and I don't think the team or the consumers really knew what to expect when we entered early access as early as we did. Not to turn a phrase there, it was 3 months into our principal development. We have 2.5-year, 3-year projected development. Yeah. One of the key things is just obviously it's a learning experience. Trying to get a build out on a somewhat reasonable frequency of every month is our usual goal, and to have it be feature complete and functional enough for a large user base to have a good time in it. I mean, because it's a competitive and heart-beating game.
And in terms of the early access model, do you find continued success operating under that?
Definitely. I mean, we passed. I was at PAX South, and I think, it was PAX South early this year, and we passed 3 million. It was nothing that we had expected. Definitely nothing Dean had expected.
Well, in terms of some of those features that you talked about, rolling them out regularly, what are some that the Daisy players can look forward to?
Well, coming up soon, we're looking at rolling out a pack of 3 new vehicles paired with the functionality of those required parts and operational fluids. That bringing back that whole feeling of I found a vehicle. It could be one of any different type of vehicles, and I have to either pair with myself or have a friend watch the vehicle and go out and find the resources required to get it out. It's not one of those, I found a vehicle, let's use it. It's more, I want this, I have to put the time in to get it working.
Well, because I know so many people focus heavily on the PvP component. It sounds like very much so the shift to the survival side of things.
We've done a lot of that so far, kind of pushing heavy on the survival stuff. And actually on the survival point, coming up a little bit later this year, hopefully, is our target for our feature complete / beta. And there's kind of a 3-prong approach for that I was interested in talking about tonight.
Great.
The first one is we're going to introduce a single-player Daisy option. So if your internet fails, you can still play the game. Tied with that.
What? I know that's one of the reasons that a lot of people originally got into Daisy was that fantasy of being the sole survivor of a zombie apocalypse.
Yes. And so, you'll have that option if you just can't stand people. You can play.
Ja, aber das ist doch schon Äonen her.
This is me right here. That's me.
That's
every time I play.
But past that, the single-player Daisy will also allow modders, which is a big thing, obviously, for PC gaming, to test their content locally before they start to push it to the Steam Workshop. And past single-player modding, we have, obviously, we're going to fully embrace Steam Workshop. If you played Arma 2 Daisy, it was a pain to install. You had these little things you had to do and switches and packages to download.
But the idea is you go into the Steam Workshop, you find what you want to install, you click it, and you're done. Like, you're in the game. And past that, I guess the big thing that everybody wanted to know when it came to modding is we are going to be releasing publicly the tool. It's a separate piece of software that will allow people to host their own DayZ servers on whatever hardware they want, LAN party, their own data center. It's going to open it wide up once we hit beta, so everybody can do whatever they want with DayZ.
Yeah, I mean, what are the sort of expectations you have going into that? Because, I mean, obviously, with the original Arma games, there's just this huge range of mods that people have created. And how do you... I mean, do you just translate those lessons over to DayZ, or is it a unique case?
Well, there's definitely a knowledge base that'll transfer over, but part of the thing that has taken a lot of time for us to develop DayZ is we're also developing its engine in tandem in Fusion, of course. And as we get to towards our feature complete area, that's when we start to roll out the tool set for Fusion. And there's going to be a bit of a learning curve, but the idea is we have new scripts, animation graph. Everything is designed to give people more control and easier control over DayZ.
I'm excited to see DayZ finally enter the beta, because as we talked about, it's one of the long-standing successes in the Steam early access. So Brian Hicks, thank you so much for coming out to talk about DayZ.
Thank you.
Mods. You know, and we talked a little about this before, that Bohemia has continued to have an extreme dedication to its modding community. Up next, we're going to take a look at a video from another early access title that Bohemia is working on that did begin as a mod. It's called Take on Mars.
5 Uhr morgens in Deutschland. Molly.
Wow, wie der gelaufen ist, sah immer richtig kacke aus.
Der hat in seinen Astronautenanzug geguckt.
Okay, Motiv ist auf dem Mars.
Alexis.
Coming.
It's amazing to think that all began as an Arma mod. Now, our next guest is a man who needs no introduction, but I'm just going to go ahead and do one. He is a long-standing figure in the gaming community. He just recently started a company called Boss Key Productions, working on a title called Project Blue Streak. Join me in welcoming Cliff Blazinski.
Oh, Cliff Blazinski.
Welcome. Good to see you. Thanks so much for coming out.
I like your butt divot.
Oh, I know. This is for you. This has some of the best professionals in the industry have all sat in this exact spot.
It's still warm, actually. It's quite nice.
It was warm for everyone except John Gibson, who started the day off, but continuing strong.
He powers through, you know.
So I want to talk a little bit about your break from game development, what it was like looking at all the trends that were emerging.
I had fun during the time period I had off, right? I mean, I'm not going to lie, you know, hanging out reading books by a pool is a lot of fun, but honestly, I got really bored. And I saw other people announcing their games, I saw trailers, I saw interviews, and I'm like, I miss this stuff. I miss being a part of it. And that was honestly after 6 months. So basically it was not working for a year and a half. It took nearly a year to kind of figure out who the proper partner would be to actually launch the studio and make something really, really cool with Nexon.
And I mean, you saw so much stuff go on in that period. I mean, we have VR, we have early access, we have, you know, the sort of indie renaissance.
Yep.
I mean, are there just always game ideas pouring out? Are there specific ones that when you looked at the market, you said, this is what I want to work on?
Well, for me, I wanted to get back to first person. I mean, I'd worked on Gears for so long, and Gears is, of course, third person, and that remake looks great. Good job, Rod. And it's one of those things that, you know, seeing down the barrel of a gun, you know, it's a very, very powerful thing.
Very visceral.
And, you know, I find that with the kind of game we're making right now, you know, there's so much more room for unique weaponry in a first-person shooter that's not just a shotgun or an AR-15 or a rocket launcher. There's a lot of unique twists you can do in the sci-fi space that kind of really make things really interesting and unique.
And in terms of the gameplay, I mean, with Project Blue Streak having, multiplayer focus component to it, I mean, how does that design experience factor in?
Here's the funny thing, right? We're finding, I turned 40 this year, right? I can't aim as well as I used to. I play CSGO and I get my ass handed to me in the pubs. It's horrible. It's just bad. So what we're finding is the older studio members were making characters and weapons that are easier for them that they can't aim. So it's more like area of effects type weapons, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the younger folks in the studio who are 20s and whatnot, interns and they just cream everybody with the high precision weaponry in the game.
So I mean, we see so many shooting games coming out right now, like Overwatch, like Gigantic, that we've got the chance to see earlier today. I mean, what does it feel like to see so many games coming out with kind of a similar idea?
Well, I think it turns out that when I had the idea a year and a half ago to make a small to medium-sized studio with 5 for a multiplayer game, I was not the only person who had that idea. So we're actually happy that there's games like that, Overwatch and Gigantic out there, so we can actually look at what they're doing and specifically say, let's not go in that direction. There's some overlap of Venn diagram of weaponry or characters and things like that, but just art style alone, we're going for something that's a little bit more realistic. If you look at Gigantics over here, and kind of have that League of Legends kind of very colorful look, and you have your depressing kind of dark Killzone-y Gears environment over here. We think there's like a halfway point where we can be at, where we kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about CS:GO. Are there other shooters from the multiplayer experience that you really take inspiration from? Like, what are some of the things you're really trying to capture for the multiplayer player?
The one that just for some reason CS:GO is all I want to play lately. Counter-Strike to me is still the most airtight first-person shooter I've ever played. And when you look at the skill level of some of the players on those servers, they are just second to none.
Insane.
I mean, you're jumping through the little crack and somebody ops you in the midair, right? And the headshots that everyone pulls off. And it's one of those games that every time I play it, I get a few more kills and I get better and better at it.
Yeah.
And that's really what I've done it for. It's the kind of thing that's easy to learn, lifetime to master. When you see, I always joke, I can go in, my driveway and shoot a few hoops, but what separates me from LeBron is insane. So, a person playing this game at the peak of their skill level who's truly mastered it after potentially thousands of hours is going to look like a god.
And when you explore these sorts of highly skill-based mechanics, are you looking for esports to be a sort of trajectory in? Because that's really where CS has been capturing so much.
Esports is one of those buzzwords that everyone just slings around, but they forget that
I'm slinging it around. It's a great
just
buzzword.
Sling it. It's like Counter-Strike's been around for quite some time, right? And in order to make a game an esport, you have to really make something that's skill-based, that has an amazing community, respect that community, and work with the community to build up to actually hopefully have people play the game professionally and, sometimes make more money than the developers.
And I mean, a lot of people know you from your work with console gaming, but why PC? Why the PC platform for the PC community?
The beauty of the PC, and this isn't just slagging anything about consoles, because maybe the game can come to consoles eventually, leading with PC first and foremost allows us to be agile. We can get a version out there, potentially, early access. We can have iteration, have test kitchen servers where you can try out new weapons, some white box maps, and continue to work with the community on a rapid basis. That's one of the many things the PC gets us. Also, keyboard and mouse, man. I love my console shooters, but keyboard and mouse for first-person shooters is still the best way to go. It's the only way to go.
Cliff, let me say thank you so much for developing for the PC. If only everyone did that, and I am talking to you, Bloodborne. Cliff,
it's good to be back.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Ladies and gentlemen, Cliff Bleszinski from Project Blue Streak. Now, we got the chance to do an earlier demo with Strafe, but this upcoming demo, I am going to be a participant. And it's going to be a game called Enter the Gungeon. Let's warmly welcome Dave Crooks and Joe Hardy. Hello! Let's go ahead and hop right into the game where I'm going to be playing co-op. I have my controller here. Now, I've practiced a little bit, but the pressure's on, so I'm just going to ask you to explain while I try my hardest to win.
Sure. Enter the Gungeon is a bullet hell dungeon crawler, and we're really excited to show co-op for the first time, as well as this new tile set and a new boss at the end of the demo. So if Joe, you want to let Day 9 out of his cage?
I'm locked in a chest. Here's me. Yes. Now, we're stepping into these rooms, and my understanding is, as you said, it's a mix between Binding of Isaac and these bullet hell sort of shooters.
Absolutely.
So walk me through just the basics of what we're seeing right now.
So each room is hand-designed, but the procedural generation builds floors according to a set of rules that we think makes really good dungeon design.
Yeah.
And we're really big fans of Ikaruga and Dark Souls. So when we went to go and make a bullet hell game, we thought to ourselves, what better way to manage the bullet hell patterns than a dodge roll with iframes in it? So when all the bullets are coming at you, the best thing you can do is actually dodge straight through the bullets. And you'll see that in the boss coming up.
And I'll try my hardest. And I mean, you earlier when we first got the chance to touch on this demo, you just said to me straight up, this is a hard game. You're going to need to practice it a lot. I mean, what is it about that extremely difficult experience that you find so compelling?
Well, just to be honest, victory is always more rewarding when you earn it.
Right.
So it's not difficulty for the sake of difficulty. We make it difficult, and then we provide the player with as many tools as we can to give them a good chance to avoid damage themselves, so they really feel like they earned it. And we have the dodge roll with iframes, but we also have some staples of shmup games, like when explosions go off, they actually delete bullets. There's various items that will wipe bullets off the screen. So you just need to use all the tools available to you to survive.
I mean, this looks like it has so many influences from so many games. I mean, even this boss reminds me very much of Link to the Past.
Zelda. Yes, this is our version of the Armos fight from Link to the Past, just with a lot more bullets.
I want you to know I am trying as hard as I can. So far, I don't think I've been hit more than once.
But you're doing very good.
You do have God mode enabled for me because of that fear that I'm... Yeah, see, watch this. Yeah. Yeah, before we went live, they're like, we're worried Sean is washed up.
Yeah, well,
is there any chance we can get him training in God mode?
Yeah, well, you know.
It happens.
Alter, das sieht echt hart aus.
That did not go very successfully for me.
But luckily, Joe has an extremely OP weapon here to demolish the rest of these statues.
So what is the variety of weaponry like in the game?
There's actually over 200 hand-designed weapons in the game.
Oh my god.
And as you play over the course of multiple runs, you'll unlock more and more of them.
We got him! Yay!
Yeah.
So I basically go down, battle, and then... Oh, this is... Whoever was in charge of this
wow,
design.
Jetzt hat keiner den Witz gesehen von denen hier im Stream.
But when you actually shoot that weapon, it changes the music to something extremely happy.
So the game loop is go in the dungeon,
flip tables, dodge roll, shoot everything, probably die, but hopefully along the way you've unlocked some new stuff that you can use in the next runs.
For any of you who are big fans of the Twitch action gameplay, I strongly recommend Enter the Gungeon. Thank you so much, guys,
Thank you very much.
for coming out, showcasing today.
Enter the Gungeon.
Thank you. Now, our next guests have a special place in my heart because they worked on a game I play a lot, a game called StarCraft. Please do.
Oh!
Yes!
Das ist wohl doch Blizzard.
Especially StarCraft Brood War, 17 years ago.
Bei ehemaligen Mitarbeiter wahrscheinlich.
Please join me in welcoming to the stage Chris Siggety and Dustin Browder from Blizzard Entertainment. Dustin, what is up?
Blizzard.
Chris, welcome. Please join me.
Come on.
I will continue my journey back to my table of authority. Heroes of the Storm has just come out. You're the new MOBA kid on the block. What's it feel like to finally have it officially released?
Super exciting. We've been working on it for a very long time. We internally call Heroes of the Storm BlizzCon or Blizzard the game. We created it in concert with the community in a very big way, and it's finally arrived. So very exciting for the team in general, and this is just the beginning, as we're about to see, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what's especially interesting to me is that many players of the MOBA genre will be familiar with the business model of releasing new heroes one at a time. And of course, Heroes of the Storm does this, but today we're talking about the first expansion for Heroes of the Storm, Eternal Conflict. Let's take a look.
Bitte was?
Ist das nicht gerade erst rausgekommen?
Ja. Wir sehen jetzt einen awesome Trailer.
An eternal battle between light and darkness. The high heavens and the burning hells. Now that conflict continues in a new arena. the very heart of the Nexus is about to begin. Which side will you choose?
Cool. Neue Characters, neue Maps.
Awesome. But I first want to ask, how do we think about what it means to have an expansion in a MOBA?
Ich habe auch das Gefühl, dass eine sah ein bisschen aus wie eine andere.
Eternal Conflict represents this epic moment for us, which is the first Blizzard world entering the Nexus. It's all about Diablo for the next several months. It's heroes, it's battlegrounds, and more. And it's coming on June 30th. It's 2 weeks away. It goes up on PTR next week. So we're super excited about it.
Well, awesome. Cool. I also understand that the Treasure Goblin from Diablo 3 is a feature in the game.
Right. Treasure Goblin from D3 is up there. It spawns in the battlegrounds in the first 30 seconds before the gates lift. You get the opportunity to kill the Treasure Goblin before he escapes through his portal, and if so, you get some bonus gold. So we're excited about that too.
Whoever thought of the Treasure Goblin mechanic for Diablo 3 is a genius, man. That makes so much sense. It's a walking pinata.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of some new heroes, I'm excited to talk
Max
about
Holz halt
King
am Maul.
Leoric.
Right.
New hero coming out.
Skeleton King. Skeleton King.
Yeah. Dustin, tell me about King Leoric.
This is a hero we've wanted to do for a long time. He's a favorite boss from the world of Diablo. We have characters in our game that we're allowed to do some really unusual things. We've changed a lot of the core rules associated with the genre. So Leoric has a trait, which is sort of something that defines him specifically. When he dies, he turns into a wraith, and he stays on the battlefield. And he'll stay on the battlefield for the duration of his death.
Can he deal damage?
He can't deal damage, but any damage, he can attack other players, and he can slow them and do other effects. Any damage he would have dealt lowers his death timer, which allows him to get back into action even sooner. So you can imagine that you're running around as a wraith, sort of haunting the people that killed you, and then when your death timer ends, you return to the battle exactly where that wraith is standing. You don't need to come back from the fountain. You're right there, maybe just delivering just vengeance on the guy who killed you.
Can anyone deal damage back to you?
No, you're just a wraith, just floating around.
But he's a hero for you and I, for sure. So when we die repeatedly, we can come
you'll
back
be good.
quickly.
You'll be good.
So what else can King Leoric do?
Well, King Leoric's got a number of heroic abilities. These are sort of the top-end abilities. You can choose between two different abilities, like all of our heroes. The first is called Entomb. With Entomb, you can create these walls that will trap heroes maybe in a position they don't want to be right now. Maybe point blank with Leoric, and maybe some other team members might leap in to help you out as well. So he's this very powerful warrior character that can really control the battlefield.
Oh, shit.
His second heroic ability is ability that allows him to move across the battlefield. It's the March of the Black King, and it allows him to sort of smack enemies with his giant mace. And it reminds you of the boss battle from Diablo 3, where he's unstoppable. There's nothing you can do to prevent this once he winds it up, and he deals ferocious amounts of damage, healing himself with every swing as well. So he can really plow through an enemy team, really add a lot of value to a team fight.
And I mean, I know also the monk is being added. I don't know if you can talk at all about the monk, but I'm going to ask you to.
The monk is, it's all good. The monk is still early in development for us a little bit. We're still working on him. He is the first Diablo support character coming to the game. He's very mobile, very agile, leaping on enemies, jumping to help heal friends. And at the same time, we're trying to do something very special and different with his talents. So the monk is a character that can choose his own trait at the very beginning of the game. So instead of having a usual set of talents at level 1, he can choose which trait he would like to take, whether he wants to be more of an attack-oriented character, more of a melee kind of brawler, or more of a traditional support character. And it really allows us to use this talent system and really push it, giving you, the player, a lot of control over how you play this character.
I mean, these heroes are particularly sort of crazy. I mean, with the way that you're working with the talent system, with the respawn, and with like so much content to draw from your past IPs, how do you do the sorting? Not just with which heroes you want to put in, but with these sort of ideas that we're actually getting the chance to see today.
Well, there's a lot of different reasons. You know, obviously Diablo support was something the community had been requesting for a long time that we wanted to do. The idea of having a character that didn't die was, came from, and we looked for different characters that could be on. We talked about Malthael for a little bit, as maybe that kind of character. And really, we looked at it, we felt like the Skeleton King made a little bit more sense. So sometimes we have an idea for a game mechanic, something that will really push the boundaries of what you've seen in this genre before. And sometimes it's just a character that needs to be done. So like, Arthas is going to happen. Like, we've got to do that guy. And sometimes it's just lots of different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so many of the heroes that really stand out are like the Murkies, the Abathurs, the really fringe sort of characters. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, Heroes has tried to set, and tried hard, and I think succeeded, to really set a tone of expect the unexpected. And there are these heroes, and they're, the designers are really killing it, I think, with the amount of variety you see between the heroes. It's something that makes me continue playing Heroes each night. So.
Well, and since I have you both here, I want to talk about a game that seems that it will actually get the end to the storyline that began like 17 years ago, StarCraft II Legacy of the Void.
Yeah. It's
oh my God.
Super exciting. We're so excited about it. And honestly, very humbling to be a part of it, because these stories around Artanis, Kerrigan, these have been going on since the original StarCraft, and then here with StarCraft II, we're sort of finishing those in this epic conclusion, and it's coming soon. So we're very, very excited about it.
What's that like for you guys personally to see, the end of the storyline?
Ja,
so
der fängt ja nicht um 5:30 an.
Yeah, it's humbling. It's somewhat emotional, honestly, to have worked on it so long and see it come to this. And it's certainly not the end. We have a lot in store for StarCraft II, but the story around these heroes, these characters is happening with Legacy of the Void. So very excited to share.
We also have, we have a special video piece for anyone to know where the story ended at the end of Heart of the Swarm. Let's take a look at the Whispers of Oblivion.
Christian muss nicht weit, der ist 25 Minuten zu Hause.
Carrion mit Kerrigan.
What does it mean to have prologue missions, and when the hell can I play them?
Yeah, so Whispers of Oblivion is connecting. It's really the story of Zeratul, who we haven't seen other than in cutscenes in Heart of the Swarm, and it connects the end of Heart of the Swarm to the beginning of Legacy of the Void. And it's a 3-mission series that connects those things. Zeratul is focused on finding and the final clues to the Xel'Naga prophecy. And he puts those things together. You get a chance to play it.
So, we left Heart of the Swarm. We've got the Terrans trying to put together their destroyed civilization from the end of that game. At the same time, we've got Kerrigan, the queen goddess of the Zerg, who is sworn to destroy this dark creature called Amon, who's making these monstrous hybrid creatures by combining Protoss and Zerg DNA with forbidden and foul technologies. And she's off in deep space trying to destroy this creature. And this is the opportunity for the Protoss now to finally retake their homeworld, to finally retake Ire they lost so many years ago back in the original StarCraft game. And we've got Zeratul running around at the same time trying to put this prophecy back together. So these 3 missions will give you a chance to sort of catch up a little bit and understand more about this prophecy. Now, all of these missions will be free to all players, regardless of whether you've bought or purchased StarCraft at all. So just sort of free to the world. But if you want early access, you need to pre-purchase Legacy of the Void. And we'll have a lot more details about that coming in the next month.
I know so many people are fans of the single player of Legacy of the Void, but how do you balance working on that versus the multiplayer component with such a huge esports scene?
Well, it's a really complicated process of having 2 teams, basically. And we have one group of guys whose sole focus is on the esports experience, the multiplayer experience, and making sure players can get into and understand that experience. We got a whole other group of guys whose whole job is to make sure that we've got this amazing campaign experience. We also got guys who are working on our arcade systems to make sure that we've got the best mod tools out that we can possibly provide our players. The real challenge, of course, is trying to keep everybody connected. But everybody's so focused on making their part of the game a great, amazing experience. Just making sure they sort of sync up is the big challenge.
I'm excited for the final end of the story. I'm excited for the new units at the final release. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out. Chris Sigging, Dustin Browder from Blizzard Entertainment.
Ja, guck mal, Blizzard doch da.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Hätte ich nicht gedacht. Win the official PC gaming show rig on the stage now.
It is time
now. Fuck you.
For our final guest of the night. I hope you guys have enjoyed our show throughout. We've gotten the chance to see one of the long-standing sci-fi series of the PC, and now we're getting a chance to look at one of the new ones. Let's take a look at a game that has ambition in spades. It's No Man's Sky.
Okay, oh.
Kein Game.
The co-founder of Hello Games. Hello, Sean. Hi. Pleasure to finally get the chance to meet you, Sean. Now, I know up until now, No Man's Sky has only been confirmed for PS4.
Yeah.
Is there some news you have for me?
Yeah, so we were actually going to announce a release date at E3, but for reasons we can't. We'll announce the release date soon, and when we announce that release date, it will be for PS4 and PC at the same time.
Yay!
Immerhin.
Now,
so
nice. I mentioned this before.
Ja, weil wir uns gestern noch gefragt haben, so, nö, es ist nur PS4.
Ja, weil Sony halt finanziert.
And how big's your team?
There's about 10 of us.
God! I mean, the trailer looks amazing.
That trailer was really full of itself. You see all those quotes? Who put that together?
I know you had your own typeface in there.
Yeah, I thought Hello Games
It had the
was
Cannes
humble.
Festival, like, sort of laurels.
What's happened to them? LA has got to them.
But how do you go about... Sorry, I find that very funny. How do you go about playtesting something that's so heavily based on procedural generation?
Rot und schwarz.
Well, you have to do like normal human playtesting. But we talked about this a little bit before, that we actually have effectively bots. And we run a server, and these AI bots, they go and visit planets, and they actually record little animated GIFs, and they keep track of memory usage and frame rate and things like that. So we send out our little AI drone spiders, and they, you know, come back from the cosmos telling us how things are going and how the game's shaping up, basically.
And I mean, when Sharita was out earlier, she talked about that with her game, the biggest concern was keeping scope under control. How do you, I mean, maybe you didn't.
We didn't.
Yeah, how? I mean, just with something this massive, walk me through what the process is of how you decide what goes in the game, what doesn't go in the game, what you're trying to hit, because when I look at No Man's Sky, it seems almost like an everything game.
Yeah, somebody said that to me. It sounds like a game design of like a child, basically.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to take that. I guess, yeah, probably that's true. Like I think, you know, we grew up playing games like Elite, stuff like that, you know. Right. And I guess this was the game, for me at least, that I imagined at the time, you know, and actually there were a lot more games, they were a lot more open like that in those kind of like Commodore 64 days and like early PC days. They were a lot more freer, open, and kind of, you know, almost wild. Like I remember you would get your keyboard and you would have no idea what anything did, and you would press all the buttons on it, and that's how you discover it. Right, exactly. And so nobody's really tried games like this so much since then. I mean, I think there has been a wave of them, like on PC recently, right? Especially in early access, things that are more kind of open, more sandboxy and stuff like that. And that's definitely where we kind of place ourselves.
I'm sort of curious, going back in time a little bit, when was the moment that you thought that you could really pull this off?
I'm not sure that's arrived yet. No, like, I think we grow more and more in confidence, like, in what we're doing, but this E3 is kind of when we've been showing people, going on hands-on, and even kind of last night at the Sony press conference, just playing it live and showing people how it is, you know. It's a weird feeling to watch a game that so many people say, you know, I'm not sure if it's real and things like that. Because, of course, you know that it is, you're playing it every day and stuff like that. So it's odd. It's, you know, it is ambitious in some ways, but in other ways, it's not. It's you know, it's perfectly doable by a small team because we're using the computer to generate everything rather than trying to generate everything ourselves.
Well, I mean, it is really a feat of procedural generation, everything you've been able to pull off. I love the vibrant art style. I will continue to follow No Man's Sky closely. Our final guest, ladies and gentlemen, Sean Murray. Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you.
Aber der hat noch eine Karte da liegen.
Das wundert mich halt auch.
Oh, okay, die hat er gerade aufgenommen.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have successfully done the first ever PC Gaming Show!
Da steht noch eine ganze Menge drauf. Was soll das?
Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. Thank you, Internet, for joining us as well via Twitch. Enormous shout out to the sponsors, AMD, Bohemia, Tripwire, Xbox, Microsoft, and Digital Storm. They were all so supportive of the idea that PC gaming needed its own show as an open platform. I'd like to give a special thanks to the wonderful folk at PC Gamer for pulling so much of this off. Hooray, PC Gamer! And thank you once again for coming out tonight. My name is Sean Plott. Go play more video games. Bye!
We did it! We did it! We did it!
Boah, macht den Scheiß aus, ey.
Jede E3 Pressekonferenz live gestreamt, die Nächte zum Tag gemacht. Da musst du jetzt gar nicht alles anmachen. Ich habe jetzt nicht vor, jetzt noch ewig was zu machen. Wir werden jetzt schön ins Bett gehen. Muss hier gar nichts groß rumspielen.
Ich find's echt krass, dass ihr immer noch zugeguckt habt. Vielen Dank dafür. Das war eine der härtesten Nächte, die ich hier vor Twitch absolvieren musste, muss ich ganz ehrlich sagen. Selbst der 24-Stunden-Stream war lange nicht so krass.
Das stimmt. Heute war ein schwacher Tag, was die Pressekonferenzen angeht.
Also die AMD-PK war mit Abstand die langweiligste.
Oh ja.
Und auch schwächste von den Spielen, ja.
Aber nichtsdestotrotz haben die Livestreams insgesamt sehr viel Spaß gemacht.
Ja, das auf
ein
jeden Fall.
Großteil an euch lag. Denn ihr habt immer richtig schön mitgemacht und Scheiße in den Chat geschrieben.
Das stimmt.
Und ach komm, lass aufhören zu labern.
Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Schlaf gut und bis zum nächsten Mal. Vielleicht kommt ja auf der E3 noch irgendwas Informatives.
Haltet PietSmiet TV im Auge, denn da kommen die Videos von Bram und Jay, die vor Ort sind.
Geht auch. Haut sie rein.
Tschüss. Tschüss.